spend more time down there, but he was like chasing a car that was pulling out. And I was like, fuck.
So we got to get in there, man. Come on.
Here
Come the hands.
Oh. Okay.
Here come the hands. Ooh, welcome in, Locks Before Lock on a Tuesday. It's been a week since Eric Lindquist and myself had the opportunity to talk betting with you, and I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of things that we've already uncovered. You probably don't even know. I don't even know what Eric has uncovered yet, but I know it's going to be a gem or two, maybe even a pearl. You never know. So we've got 4 games to look at here. Jordan is producing huge night of content, the deeper dive than Live Before Lock. So don't go anywhere. Hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe. We'll tell you everything what's going on across the board, including Odd Shopper. My friend, I already appreciate the golf lesson that you gave me ahead of time. So I'm good to go, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, we were just explaining golf club science and trying to go through why Eytan is cutting down his driver to a 7-iron length and why the club exploded in his hands. It's a little bit science. It's a little bit math. It's a little bit of rock and roll. So it looked like a nice day out there in PA.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So even more reason to thank everybody out there, from the news god to Lepre to you on the chat, for hanging with us on this beautiful day. I know these West Coasters are probably scoffing at me here on the East Coast saying, hey, it's a nice day. You're thinking like, yeah, we get that all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what we'll see what the weather's like this weekend in Florida. Tonight, though, in Orlando is where we can begin. And we have a couple of big lines. This is one of them here. The Nets are laying 10 on the road. The good news, though, is that we have a super high total to play with at 232. So, Eric Lindquist, why don't you kick things off with what jumped out at you the most in this game? A lean, a side, total, first half play on Odd Shopper, or maybe it's a player prop?
I don't know if I've ever talked about totals and spreads in terms of like actually aggressively looking to play them. I think I'm going to sprinkle a half unit on Orlando money line here. We've got a 10% expected ROI in the betting model here. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they played about as good as you could possibly see them play against your Philadelphia 76ers. It was a statement game, if you will.
Incredible.
This is such a letdown spot here for Brooklyn. It's just kind of a weird feeling that I get, and combine that with the tools we have here at Awesemo, 10% expected ROI on the money line. Again, they only win 22% of the time, but it seems like the payout of plus 398, which is kind of what you're looking at, plus 400 being the prevailing number you can see the sports book that it's at there. Go play there. Go take advantage of that number. Again, I don't think it's a full unit. I'm not going to say that it works out a majority of the time. This is a full strength without Ben Simmons, but a full strength team out, not a full strength team without Ben Simmons.
No, you were
Curry
right.
out.
You were right initially.
Or Seth Curry, who's questionable here in this spot. I don't think he's going to play, but
no.
So many things that are just kind of like questionable here. LaMarcus Aldridge out. I just feel like it's a letdown spot, and I want to be invested in these guys in DFS. I don't think there's any way around it. There's value that's presented itself here. Andre Drummond's going to be a big talking point of DFS, but the NBA betting model likes it. I think I might like it for a half unit here. I can't believe I'm starting off with an actual money line Orlando take, but here we are.
Well, I love it, because not only are you just coming out aggressive right from the shoot here, but you're using the Odd Shopper model to show you that this is not just you pounding your chest thinking, all right, let me be outlandish by any means. There's data behind it. And that's what we always use this vehicle with Odd Shopper. So there's going to be some sort of catalyst for this bet. And look, I agree with you where it is a major letdown opportunity. Look, we saw that with the Sixers over the weekend in overtime against the Orlando Magic, right? It's easy to let down. Now, I know the Sixers lost against the Nuggets, so that's neither here. But Nick Claxton is popping up right away as far as an individual if you'd like to target in this game. You mentioned Andre Drummond as well. I have a nice little Mo Bamba prop that I'm going to get to before we move on in this game. But, you know, I think even if it is a letdown scenario here, I do like attacking overs for Kevin Durant from a points or maybe it's a point rebound PR level. And again, Nick Claxton is the guy that's going to pop up. Even if you wanted a same game parlay this and go over the half assist and over his 7.5 points, I think you can do some damage there with Claxton.
Yeah, I think it's a nice addition. I mean, here's the thing. Andre Drummond is a guy that, if he gets the minutes, is going to smash from a fantasy perspective. He's not the best basketball player, but a lot of basketball players are going to look a lot better playing alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think there's a lot of paths. If Orlando ends up way, way down, there's an opportunity for Nick Claxton to come on in garbage time, ramp it up, but has played 20, 22, and 21 minutes, 3 in a row, basically averaging 21 minutes a game here in the absence of LaMarcus Aldridge. So he's playing the backup 5 here, and that's a good thing to be going up against a front court that, and Mo Bamba, he can be good in terms of just blocks and steals, but I don't know. It feels like a spot where, you have a true 5 on the floor there. Wendell Carter can slide over and play a little bit there at the 5 as well. Mo Wagner's been out there for minutes here. And if you get cleanup duty against him, Yahtzee, because he is very bad at the old defense. So I think Nicholas Claxton, being bullish on some of those, I don't mind adding that to the card as well. Started with my total, but Nicholas Claxton, regardless of game script, regardless of maybe having a little interest here in Orlando, just to sprinkle in some money line, I do think those props stick out for a reason.
Yeah, man. The one I would add here is, and again, it was at plus 106 earlier in the day. I was kind of surprised that it was even over or hovering around plus money to even money to plus money, to be honest with you. And I think it's just a little bit of recency bias. I mentioned that last game that they lost in overtime to the Sixers, but I think that was an anomaly that we saw from Mo Bamba shooting the ball, the low volume, especially from 3. His number is over 1.5 threes in this game at plus 106. And if you look at what he's done recently, I'm taking it. Look, he's averaging 2 makes in 4 attempts. He's shooting the ball well. He even shot 1 of 2 against the Sixers, Eric. It's just that he didn't shoot enough. I think that was the anomaly, the low volume, not so much the make only being at 1. So I played that tonight.
A ton. 58 games he's played this season. How many threes do you think he's made this entire year?
Well, I can tell you because I have it in front of me, but I'll let you answer it. And look,
78 is the answer. It's a lot lower than 1.5 that you're looking him averaging for the season. And now, this is a team that's going to be absent Jalen Suggs. So maybe there's some usage that's up for grabs, but you put RJ Hampton, you put Markelle Fultz back into the mix. That's going to be 2 guys that are more shot happy than normal. Mo Bamba can get there defensively from a DFS perspective, but 58 games, 78 threes. I think, it's a 4-gamer, so you got to be a little bit more selective. I'm probably going to shy away from the 1.5. You are getting plus money. That's the best thing I can say, but just doing the quick math on it, 58 games, 78 threes, and now more shooters around him. It becomes a difficult ask for him to go over 1.5.
Look, I'm not calling Markelle Fultz a shooter. You can, by all.
No, he's going to use usage. I'm not saying he's going to go out there chucking threes, but in the early going here, let me pull up.
He's probably going to be out there passing, I think, and being a facilitator. Look, I'm also not going to go back to November for Mo Bamba stats either, Lindquist. I'm looking at what he's done in the month of March. I'm taking advantage. Look, I'm playing this tonight because the guy is on a freaking heater and he only needs 3 to 4 attempts to get me 2. I'm banking on him taking 5 attempts, something along those lines.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Come on.
7 of the last 10. He has not hit this number.
I'm looking at a much different stat line than you.
Okay. Well, let's just count them as we're going down the line. 1 for 2 against Philly. So didn't hit it.
Of his 4.
He went 5 of 8, 3 of 4. What are you talking about? From 3?
I'm looking at 4 times this month he's played.
Oh, you're talking about this month. I'm looking at his last 10. He's missed the number 7 of 10.
Okay. I'm just looking at a more recent number. Do you have anything else on this game that you
I do not, Eytan. Thank you so much for asking.
You better hope that this doesn't turn into a Patrick.
I love you. Don't hurt me. I'm very sensitive.
If this guy goes out there and only takes 1 3, I'm driving across country. This is a meet me in Temecula.
How did Tobias Harris work out the other night for me?
Yeah, look. Anybody can hit a blind squirrel, can shoot the bottom of a barrel. All right. I'll never bet Tobias Harris again on anything.
Blind squirrel can also get hit by a car and die. So there's that.
Nothing else on the Magic. You don't want to target anybody else here?
No, I really don't. It's such a cluster,
No, it's terrible here. All right. So let's move on. Our second game is Memphis. There's actually a lot of value that I like in this game. Memphis laying the 7.5. At Indiana, another super high total here. Only 1 is low, and shocker, it's in South Beach, but 234.5. So I know from a DFS standpoint, there's going to be a lot of opportunities here to jump in and get guys with high usage. From a betting standpoint, and look, you already set the tone taking the Magic as far as a home dog. I don't know if you're willing to push this thing and sprinkle anything on the Pacers at home.
No, I will not. Here's your fun play of the day here. I was actually talking with our friend Loca there in the chat this morning. He sent me a DM and wanted me to take a look at Steven Adams because he was popping out. And there are times that you kind of go through this big man rotation here in Memphis, and everybody eats against Indiana. So it's definitely nerve-wracking, especially when you know Ja Morant isn't going to be out on the floor. That's minutes to go somewhere, not necessarily the front court, of course, because there's basically three main guys that you're accounting for with it. Kyle Anderson gets mixed in, but he's mainly a three. You have Jaren Jackson Jr., you have Brandon Clark, and you have, of course, Steven Adams. And all three of them on Odd Shopper sticking out as rebounds under. I have a 3-for-1 special. Instead of just betting one individually, being Brandon Clark or Steven Adams or Jaren Jackson in the unders of them, I'm going to bet all three. If you want to take it as a half unit of each, that's just fine. You don't have to just go one unit on every single one, depending on how you structure your bets. But I think taking the under on all three and hoping to hit 2 of 3, I'm assuming you're not going to hit all three. Somebody's going to get the bulk of the minutes there, but Jaren Jackson Jr. runs into foul trouble. Brandon Clark against some of these smaller front courts can get some more minutes. Steven Adams only played 25 the last 2. And, you get like an athletic Mitchell Robinson out there for the Knicks, and they just kind of give him a little bit longer leash there. He played 25 minutes against OKC. You get that hybrid front court of Roby, who's a glorified power forward. You get Pokusevski. Those are the last 2 games for Brandon Clark. He's played 25 and 23 minutes. So that can take away from Steven Adams. There's a lot of different paths here. And I don't know how other people view it, but like Goga Batadze just not being in would be a very good thing for me. Questionable there for Steven Adams under, because you get Jalen Smith, you get Isaiah Jackson. Like both of them are not your traditional big fives. They're going to be a little bit more hybrid like, and I think Brandon Clark might see a little bit more floor time. So regardless of how that news works out, they all look like they're cannibalizing each other's rebounds. So I'm going Brandon Clark under, Steven Adams under, and Jaren Jackson under, all for half a unit.
It's not bad, man. I like the strategy too, where you're essentially throwing the blanket out there. You're casting the net and you're assuming that 2 of 3, you're really betting for 2 of 3. And again, that's going to be a return in its own right. Let me pull a little page out of your own book here as we began. And I think if there is anything from the side or a total that you can target here, it would be a whole hell of a lot of points. And I know this is high and it's probably going to scare some people away here. Odd Shopper, you can get it at 234.5. So there is some workability. And again, you're going to find the best return across the board. But I like Memphis on the road here. I like the Pacers at home, who give up a lot of points and score points as well. We've seen that as of recent. So if there was one feel on the game itself, I would go over. And again, I could get it at 234.5 here in PA on FanDuel. So I'm going over that 234.5 for the total.
Yeah, I don't completely hate it. I mean, this is going to be a very target-rich environment. Well, I definitely would. Eytan, part of what's beautiful about our relationship is I can be dead honest with you and tell you when I'm being, and then you can tell me when I'm being a dunce cap, and I can tell you when you're being an a-hole. It's like, we're like the Notebook a little bit over here. There's a little bit of Notebook. By the way, don't you have to be Dr. Evil for the first 15 minutes of this show?
No, we didn't get that. That was the DFS show. All right. That was the Sunday. So
Sunday.
Yeah.
It's
and I have to check the likes on that, by the way. All right.
All right. Otherwise, go back to Sunday's show, smash the like button, get it over 500.
Yeah.
I will be mini me, and that seems equally as enticing. So should be a fun show. But yeah, everybody's going to be playing Tyus Jones, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr. and DFS purposes. You really should be. I do have some interest in D'Anthony Melton. As gross as that is, he's been the worst dude to target in these kind of situations. But one-time dealer, one time.
All right, so I'm going to give you 2 here for me that I think are strong plays. You mentioned the foul trouble, and what's crazy about the foul trouble for Jaren Jackson is that it hasn't really hurt his 3-point prop going over that 1.5. He's actually gone over it 3 straight games, in games in which he's had 5 and 4 fouls as well. So staying out of foul trouble, I have no problem whatsoever, but 3 straight games, he's shooting the ball just a little bit better. And for whatever reason, you can still get him at plus 120, even though he's had that stretch of 3 straight. And I'm going to target a volume guy here. And I think a lot of people are going to jump on Buddy Hield. And I understand that if there's anybody looking at it from an Indiana standpoint, but Halliburton over 2.5 threes for plus money. And if you look at the stretch that he's on, mainly from a volume standpoint, but also the way, like, he's on a tear as well. So I'm just trying to take advantage. This is not me telling you over the next month, Eric Lindquist, to attack Tyrese Halliburton 3-point props, but it's me recognizing that he's got a pretty good matchup. And on top of that, he's been shooting the lights out over the last 3 games. So I want to attack this just tonight for plus money. I feel like I have to qualify everything here with it's not like this season-long play.
I love Tyrese Halliburton. I will say I love Tyrese Halliburton as a human being. Go Iowa State. We were in shambles post Tyrese Halliburton. So I do like Tyrese Halliburton as a human being. That's what I will say about it.
Okay. Anything else in this game?
No. Looking at the game, I mean, we talked through that Memphis situation. I think that in the Indiana situation, I mean, we're looking at that front court. It's just not really going to be a great situation to be looking at. You could try to react to the Goga news just in terms of the security. We saw Isaiah Jackson start out that game, play really nice rotations, the beginning of the first, third, and then Jalen Smith closing out the game. I don't really think Jalen Smith is going to be a guy that I'm going to try to fire up too much in DFS. So maybe I try to get some prop exposure when the Goga news hits, but I definitely want to try to short both of them in the event that you get Goga in this game.
All right, we have just over 10 minutes to go. These final two games we're going to get through. Again, hit that thumbs up button, please, if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed here at the Odd Shopper channel. Tons of content, and we have to remind the world here of this awesome premium betting picks subscription that's out. You can just click this link below. You'll see it right here. Subscribe to and then join our betting picks Discord channel. And then every day, Alex Baker, Ben Rasa, Steve Buzzard, three sharp individuals are giving you league leading, that's right, industry leading projection models to identify the best ROI plays. Everything is out there for you, and you can still jump in now. You have a couple of days until March 17th to jump in now. Full access, only $15. So make sure you click that link below and become a part of it. And then, of course, you want to follow Eric's picks here. So
I think so.
Yeah, I didn't want to just leave you out of this conversation.
Hey, I want to follow Eytan's picks too. I'm just trying to craft them. Trying to craft them into what I want them to be.
It's tough. Many of people have tried that in relationships.
Yeah, how's that going for them?
Not work. Well, now one's got me with a kid, so I can't go anywhere. Look, I'm going to I am going to stun you. I want you seated.
Are we taking an under of a 3-pointer? I might go crazy.
Yeah, well, now you just ruined the bit. So, yes.
Who are we shorting?
No, I'll tell you in a second here. Any interest in
unders?
Any interest in laying 13.5 for the Miami Heat? Look, 214.5. It would make sense to go an underplay if you like the side or total here. Detroit, I don't know. Maybe if you wanted to attack a first half under and cut that even less, nothing at all.
Kate Cunningham probably isn't going to play. I don't know. This is going to be the main situation we're kind of waiting on. Man, on a day with actually quite a bit of news. He's played 41 and 44 minutes the last two. I mean, they are just saying, you know what, Cade, have fun here to the end of the season. We're not going anywhere. Just develop him, build the confidence, keep him going. He started to look a lot better. The box score is definitely looking a lot better with 20 points in his last 7 plus. So we're looking at an opportunity where Cade Cunningham being out. I can't be going to 13.5 here against this Miami team. Best record in the East. You're looking at a money line minus $1,000, Alex. No, thank you on anything to do with this spread.
I'll tell you, if you wanted, man, maybe just go under that. I'm just curious what that first half total is 110.5, right? So it's a little higher. They bumped it up a little higher. I think you can sneak under that. Under 110.5, Detroit without Cunningham, Miami just putting the clamps down, looking to get the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I don't mind that one nearly as much. I'm with you there.
The Odd Shopper tool, when you look across the board here, is telling you where to go here from a player prop standpoint.
I mean, if you get Cade Cunningham in, it might be a spot to kind of short some of these guys, but it seems like they're projected as though they're going to be in. So I would probably be looking at the flip side, but all of these look very, very middled. There's no one guy that really going to be like the go-to. I need to get over on all of his props because, Corey Joseph, like if you can get the points prop, over a 7.5 is the one that sticks out the most. If you have Cade Cunningham sitting here, it's just such a Cade is Sovlis. We're waiting on Cade Cunningham news.
Right, we're talking about both scenarios here.
So yeah, there's a prospective opportunity. I go over to schmeisschmicks.com. That is one of our sponsors here, and I love to be able to go play over there. I think you should too if you are in a state where you're legal and able to do that, as opposed to I don't have sportsbooks access here as much here in California. You have to go to the border, which I might actually do to go get some entries in the old NCAA contest, but Cade Cunningham looks like some overs are decent there, but not anything that's really you need to be beating down the door. It's a lot of minutes and a lot of usage to go away, but all these lines are just so middled. They have so many guys that can kind of fill in some of those spots randomly. Like you get Corey Joseph, Sadiq Bey plays big minutes already. You have Saban Lee that would enter the rotation here again. It's such a weird spot for me that I just really would be looking to get my DFS exposure there. I'll be on the Live Before Lock show, so I won't have access to be able to try to jam anything more than likely in that spot, but we'll be on high alert here for Cade Cunningham.
All right. And beyond that, I mean, look, if you wanted to attack anything else, there's plus money here, and it's under Sadiq Bey's threes at 2.5 at plus 110. And if you look at a recent stretch, he had that explosion like a week ago or so to start the month of March, where he had these 2 games in a row against Toronto and Indiana. But every other game this month, even when he shot the ball well, has been no more than 2. And when he's had extra volume, it hasn't even bumped him up against a better matchup. So I think if you wanted to target an under, and I know you just love this whenever you hear this, I'll go under 2.5 threes for Bey tonight at plus money.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
No sound effect or music or anything?
That was literally, I did the GIF or the meme or whatever that is that the kid does. It's so good. You said the word under and I couldn't believe it. And I'm so happy with you. Look, man, I could not be prouder of you.
You think I just roll in here, right? Like Chris Collinsworth, like
they see me rolling.
Hey, some slide, and I don't have anything here prepared for you. Jeez.
Yeah, Chris Collinsworth does not prepare enough. That's for sure.
Well, I'm just saying the rolling. That's all.
I got it. I saw you rolling. You're hating, patrolling, trying to catch you riding dirty.
On that note,
Heidi ho there, neighbor.
Last game for us, unless you want to slide in anything else. But
my dog's paws are like right there, and that would be a bad idea.
Okay, good. Yeah. Now this last game, Phoenix laying 4.5 at New Orleans, 230.5 is the total. CJ's off the COVID list. Still no Brandon Ingram. Still no Chris Paul. I don't know how you don't lay 4.5 here. Phoenix has done absolutely everything. And at least recently, they've been up and down, but look, winners of 6 of 10 without Chris Paul there against the Pelicans team that just isn't that great. I don't know how CJ coming back from COVID would move the needle this much. I have no problem laying the 4.5 on the road for Phoenix.
I'm with you. This is the trappiest line I've ever seen in my life. That's hyperbole, but this is like, for today, we're talking about number 1 in the West. Just got done annihilating the Lakers in prime time, at home, of course. So that's a little bit different. This is on the road in New Orleans, but we're looking at a team that just they are the locomotive that doesn't stop churning right now. And CJ McCollum has been playing awesome, but I don't know the exact circumstances around, he cleared COVID protocols. I don't know if he actually had it. I doubt it. Just, I know that it's like a week that he missed. Maybe he did there. I don't know if that means the minutes are going to be down or whatever, but CJ McCollum has been awesome in his time here in New Orleans from a fantasy perspective, and it's translated into real life for the New Orleans Pelicans as well. I'm with you. I'm definitely interested in this spot. I find it hard to get away from 4.5 here. I'm more than willing to lay that here with the team. 13 losses on the season, and all of a sudden against New Orleans, we're going to shy away. I think not.
No, absolutely, man. And imagine me, by the way, popping up on Odd Shopper and seeing one of the top ROI plays here, correlated, of course, because it's Landry Shamet across the board, but his over 3-pointers. I mean, Odd Shopper is yelling and screaming at me like, hey, play Shamet, play Shamet. So that's definitely one that I played. But I think this is, and Grayson Allen has been great in a spot like this where we've seen an Odd Shopper has directed us here as well. But this is a great same game parlay opportunity where you can go over Landry Shamet's 6.5 points and over his 1.5 threes. They are going to correlate, so don't expect like this gigantic payout, but you're going to bump up the minus 110 for the over points, and the plus 132 is super going to help you there as well. So I like both individually, and I would play them together as a half unit same game parlay.
Oh, dude, do I love it or do I love it? I'm here for with you. I'm here with you for that one. So I'm glad that we can end on a high note here. Add Cameron Payne
blocks. 2 minutes. You need
add Cameron Payne to the blocks here. We got 0.3. So 0.3 blocks per season, or sorry, per game on the season here. we're projecting him for 0.5 blocks. Why is there such a disparity? Because he's playing tons of minutes in competitive games. And, I will trust Vegas in terms of this being one that isn't going to necessarily go 15, 16 points, but I am going to be betting going up against the New Orleans Pelicans. I am going to take the 4.5 here, definitely with Phoenix. But Cameron Payne blocks. He's just going to be playing 36, 37 minutes in competitive ball games here. So if it is competitive, you have the opportunity to see him just run into a random block here and there. And that is enough at plus 235 over on DK. That is a huge, great play that Odd Shoppers identified here.
Unbelievable. You hypocrite. You attack Mo Bamba with the same level. Attack Mo Bamba with the same level of insight and analysis that I present to you with recent trends and all. And you poo-poo it away. But yet here, it's a mitigating factor in you going over a category that Payne isn't even known for.
Well, yeah, I said it, and there's a plus 235 attached to it, and that's better than plus 105 on Bamba.
06. Don't you dare short me.
Shorted you. Well, the penny matters. The penny matters.
Always, my friend. All right. Anything else you want to clean up? I love this, by the way. We've given you a ridiculous same game parlay here to end the show, which is Payne over blocks. You can add Shamet over points. If you can get the over 3 there in the same book, then do that. You can even add his rebounds. Look, Odd Shopper is essentially telling you go over on Landry Shamet's points, rebounds, PR, and 3-pointers. You can combine all of those together, but that's pretty much the direction there as well.
Mm-hmm. Loco asked me, what is my favorite prop of the night? Here you go. I saved this one for the end anyway. Under on 1.5, that'd be hilarious. I would actually love that on 1.5 threes if I did that.
I tell you, I won't. This guy goes under. I'm upset with you.
Yeah, well, or I was right the whole time. O'Shea Brissett. I want to react to the Goga news. Again, it's not a piece of news that sports books are going to react to that much, and that means the under on O'Shea Brissett 11.5. 11.5 for a guy who's just not taking a lot of shot attempts. He's been very effective here just in limited shot attempts, like 5 for 8, 3 for 4, the last 2. But I mean, if you go further back here, he hasn't eclipsed 20% usage since 34 minutes against Boston on February 27th here. Long string of games where he's been starting, but it hasn't really been all that effective from a fantasy perspective, the way he's been in years past here, only 0.81 DraftKings points per minute. O'Shea Brissett 11.5. He would really need to go out and continue being effective and still get to those shot attempts to get over that number, a number he has only eclipsed once, if you want to talk trends, once in his last 7.
All right. I love it. At Eric Lindquist on Twitter, at Shander Show for me. Thanks to Jordan. He's not going anywhere. You aren't going anywhere either. So please hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed. Here are the Odd Shopper channels. We continue to show you all that. And no, you're going to answer that chameleonaire question on Live Before Lock. You're not going to tarnish the good work that we've done here by answering that question. All right. It's Loughran and Adam Deep Dive coming up next.
Chameleonaire.
that $600 Dyson Jordan has behind him? A Range Rover payment, that guy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Jock Market. I'm Dave Loughran, joined as always by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Follow me at Laffy_D. 4 games to talk about today, some of which have seen the totals just boom throughout the day. Some of them bet up like 5 points. We'll talk about all of that. But first, before we get into it, what's good, brother? How you feeling?
Feeling good. I think this is actually a pretty fun slate for a 4-gamer. You mentioned it earlier. It was either you or Greg mentioned that the NBA schedule this week is kind of weird, but at least for 4 games, we actually have a lot to talk about and a lot of decision points for DFS.
Yeah, and no late games tonight on a Tuesday. A lot of times you'd see like the 7, the 8:30, and then the 10. It's just 7, 7:30, and 8. So hopefully we shouldn't have a whole lot of news to worry about. It also is going to be much easier for the fellas doing live before lock. They're doing a 30-minute post-lock show. So that's at 7 to 7:30. Hang around with them. We should get all of the news by the time that game is over. So that's good. Can we go stars and scrubs today with what we have from Memphis, or is there even really a stars and scrubs approach, given that you don't have any of the, like you have Durant and Irving, but it's hard to look at them as some of the other top options that are the clear number ones on their team, you know, like 1.6 fantasy point per minute guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, for an actual stars and scrubs, no, because you would need to somehow get Giannis and Jokic in the player pool. But
right, and Doncic.
Yeah. Right, yeah. But yes, you can, the tier of stars is a little bit lower. Like instead of Luka and Giannis and those guys, you're talking about Durant at the very top, and then, Kyrie, McCollum, Booker, maybe, Halliburton if Brogdon's out. But yes, you can do that. There's a lot of still really good plays to pay up for. But you just don't have the normal top tier of stars.
You see the one comment about what had him dying this morning from what you said?
About what?
Nova Scotia.
Oh.
What were we talking about? Mardi Gras?
Yeah, New Orleans.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But we're happy to have you guys with us. Oh, El Negro Loco, iced up, bro. All right. I like it. Got that 12-month badge. Anyway, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so. Let's get it. We got almost 1,000 watching. I mean, 68 to 200 out of the gate. If you haven't done so yet, takes a second. If you like this type of stuff around here, it's greatly appreciated. And it, helps us combat the YouTube algorithm. You know how it works. Subscribe to the channel too. And if you want, hit join down below. We got you. A lot of fun stuff going on. Free super chats each month, custom emojis. There's sweet looking badges. And of course, now, and we'll always prioritize your questions and comments with our premium Discord members, but you got the March Madness bracket too. Get in that. You got a couple of days to go for all of our members. If you're already a member and you want to get in, click that See Perks down there, and then you'll see a community tab when it takes you to the landing page, and you can jump in. Just use that link. So, all right. Here we go. First game up, Memphis and Indiana. This is one of the games I was talking about. Total jumped like 4 points since we spoke this morning. But all in all, Memphis is, unless we get any crazy news, or unless like John Morant, who didn't go through shoot around, just ends up playing, it is the best spot on the slate. And we get to Tyus Jones, but it's pretty self-explanatory. One thing that's interesting about Dylan Brooks, as I was looking at this for the betting video earlier, I feel, he played 26 minutes in his return, was out for a while with that ankle injury. Feels like had he not been in that foul trouble in the first and third, and maybe this game wasn't separated by 18 points, maybe he would have played even, a decent amount more than that. I think you could see pretty good minutes for Dylan Brooks. Might be surprising tonight.
Yeah, and the other thing is you don't really even need to. Like he's 4,900 on DraftKings, he's 5K or 5,200, something like that on FanDuel. Even if you give him 28, 30 minutes, he looks very, very good, like one of the top plays on the slate. And yeah, if he just plays more, then obviously he's even better. But like you said, we'll get to Tyus Jones, but beyond Tyus Jones, I think Brooks is the easiest guy on this team to get to. Just really inexpensive still. Has about a 30% usage rate without John Morant on the floor this year. Good matchup against Indiana. Favorable positional eligibility with shooting guard, small forwards. So I don't really have anything negative to say about Brooks from a DFS standpoint tonight, given the price tag and the fact that we're not expecting Morant to play.
You're right in that it really doesn't matter what his minutes end up being, but I do think he could get a lot. I think we could be pleasantly surprised by the minutes he plays. Tyus Jones is another one. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you and I before the strategy show today, we're talking about, you know, a little tweak to your game for like large or smaller field single entry, you know, higher stakes contests. And while we have him at 78% for like large field tournaments, Tyus Jones coming in at 90+% seems like a formality at this point for a smaller entry for smaller field stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's all relative because, you know, like in large field, he's going to be lower owned than in small field. He's still going to be massively owned. But in small field, it's like, yeah, he's, you know, 90+%, but you also don't need to beat that many entries. So it's kind of at his price point, particularly on DraftKings at 3,400, but also to a lesser extent on FanDuel at 4,200, it's kind of as close to a free square as you're going to get. Like, you'll never hear me say somebody's a lock, as in like you have to have them in 100% of your lineups, but he's pretty damn close because he's averaging about 30 minutes per game as a starter without Morant. He's around a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. He's in a good matchup, and it's just this, you know, it's a 4-game slate, and it's just a situation where, you know, not only is the most likely outcome that he comes close to 10xing his salary, but even if he doesn't get to his median projection and goes for, I don't know, 24 fantasy points, which would be pretty far off his projection, he's still probably one of the best point per dollar values on the slate. So it's just really, really difficult for him to fail, barring massive foul trouble or injury or something like that. And I typically don't build lineups around hoping somebody sprains an ankle. So I really just have an insanely difficult time getting away from Jones, no matter what format you're playing. Yeah,
it certainly feels that way. And it's funny because this is one of those teams, I think you'd agree, that foul trouble hasn't exactly been a non-issue for them. Like Dylan Brooks, guy has never seen, and I know Chad always says this as well, but they're right. The guy's never seen a shot that he doesn't like, which is great. He's also never seen a foul that doesn't appeal to him either, right? But you just have to run that risk. And like I said, I think you're getting 30 plus if he's out of foul trouble. And even if he's in foul trouble, at least we know that he can get those minutes made up for, hopefully in the second half. Jaren Jackson is always the one that this guy confounds me, Adam. Like 30% usage rate without Ja on the floor this year. He's played 845 minutes with Morant off, which is nice. Fantasy point per minute wise, you've got him at 1.26. It's the best on the Memphis Grizzlies by a pretty wide margin. It's just, and I'll defer to you here. One, you can't play for foul trouble. You can't just assume that he's going to get in foul trouble. But even if he isn't, how many minutes can we confidently project him for?
I mean, my typical projection for Jackson is 27, 28 minutes. If he's not in foul trouble, he can give you 30. He's in foul trouble a lot, so it lowers the median projection. But at this price tag and with Morant out, 6,500 on DraftKings, he still looks very, very good. It's easy to get him into lineups. He's got around a 31% usage rate without Morant on the floor this year. He's got a very good matchup against Indiana. So I don't think he's on the same level as Tyus Jones and Dylan Brooks because those two are just completely mispriced. But I think Jaren Jackson and also Desmond Bane, who's 6,700 on DraftKings, still look like very, very good plays, just not the completely egregiously priced ones like Brooks and Jones.
Yeah.
Jackson this year, 845 minutes without Morant, 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. I would expect that comes down a little bit if you put Dylan Brooks on the floor, just because, you know, like Dylan Brooks is going to shoot every time he touches the ball. But Jackson has played 276 minutes with Brooks on and Morant off, still 1.19 DraftKings points per minute, 27.1% usage rate. You're still talking about a very strong option at 6,500.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately you have a few top options here. Somebody said that none of them will get enough minutes. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. You're taking someone, let's break this down and then we can go to Indiana, but this is the spot where we need to spend the most time anyway. So I don't mind, you know, belaboring the point a little bit here to make sure we're all on the same page. You're not just taking off like Mike Conley, you know, you're taking off a guy that has a 34% usage rate. That's up, 7% from last year too. He has almost a 35% assist rate, quality 9% rebounder. All of that stuff is significant. And John Morant averages just under 34 minutes per game. So yeah, it'd be like if you took Brooks off or if you took Payne off, somebody benefits for sure. But with John Morant off, just the overall usage and where the ball is for most of the game makes more than enough of an impact to say, all right, even if Brooks plays 29 or 28, he's 4,900. And maybe he was talking about a different site. That's fine. Desmond Bane, all of these guys, they're not dirt cheap, but they're priced for John Morant to play.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to go back to what we're talking about in chat, I'm not expecting any of these guys to play like 36 minutes or anything, but I think the average projection for Jones is around 30, Payne is like 31, Jackson's 28, but it's that their per minute production goes up. I mean, you're not making DFS plays solely based off of minutes. If you were, you'd be rostering guys like Tony Snell a lot back when he was wherever he was when he was playing 36 minutes and scoring 2 points a game. So that's not the only thing. Like, you have to consider the rates and the production. And even if Morant were in, guys like Payne and Jackson and Brooks in this spot, and even Jones at 3,400 would be reasonable plays. You take Morant out and their production goes up. So I mean, again, it just makes Brooks and Jones completely mispriced. It makes Payne and Jackson underpriced. And then even guys like, Steven Adams can still absolutely smash this front court. And from a tournament standpoint, if you want to go to some lower owned guys here and just, sort of hope that something happens to the guys ahead of them, whether it be foul trouble or whatever. I'd seen somebody mention DeAnthony Melton in chat, and I mentioned him in both of my tournament videos. I don't think that on average he gets more minutes with John Morant out. In the games he's played without Morant and with Jones and Brooks, he's averaged 21.6 minutes per game this year, which is about what he's doing anyway. But he's basically one guy getting in foul trouble or playing poorly or whatever away from picking up a few more minutes. And at 4,500, if you just project him for 21, 22 minutes, he looks decent. If like Dylan Brooks gets in foul trouble and so Melton plays more or something like that, then you're just getting a low-owned guy that produces at a high rate and is in a really good spot. Same can be said for somebody like Brandon Clark, backing up Steven Adams and, potentially getting some minutes if Jackson gets in foul trouble. Kyle Anderson potentially getting minutes if Jackson's in foul trouble. So in particular, DeAnthony Melton, but also to some extent Clark and Anderson, as far as lower-owned tournament options, if you're trying to find a way to be contrarian within this Memphis team.
But what makes us think these guys can't get those minutes? I mean, I just went back and looked at the stretch of games that John Morant missed from the 30th of November to the 19th of December. I got through 5 of them. One of them, they won by 73 points. So we could throw that one out the window, right? All of these guys, Jones, Payne, Brooks, 33, 34 minutes every night.
Yeah, no, they can. I'm saying like on average, they're, 30, 31.
Right. No, and what I'm saying is all of these games with Morant out, they were all 33, 34 minutes. So maybe that's different now, but I don't know why it has to be.
Right.
I also don't really think, and as you mentioned, I'm not sure it matters, but like Tyus Jones was playing 33 to 35 minutes in all of those games. And Melton was active in all of them. I think Dylan was out for a couple, but even the ones that Dylan was in, 34, 35 minutes. So again, doesn't really matter. Anything else you want to hit on for Memphis?
No. Well, Stephen Leibowitz said
together, fella.
I was trying to read the super chat because it said my name.
Go ahead. Stephen Leibowitz. Yeah, go
ahead. Hang on. Stephen Leibowitz said, is Conchar too far of a stretch at minimum? I think so. I mean, he's pretty buried. He didn't even play last game because with Brooks back, you have that kicking Zaire Williams to the bench. Williams is ahead of Conchar in the rotation. If I were going to go that route, I would go Zaire Williams, but I don't really have any interest in him either.
Okay, now I see what's going on with the super chat, right? Okay. I thought the super chat was the question that you were getting for like a DFS question.
No, I was trying to answer the Conchar question, but then I saw my name on the super chat, so I was trying to see like what the gist of that was and didn't know what you were saying.
Arcatelza, thanks for the super chat. Said, Adam, someone texted me and said DK wanted to invite me to Houston. Phoenix game tomorrow. She emailed me and said it's Madison B, VP DraftKings. Is this legit? Said they email tickets today or tomorrow. There's no reason it wouldn't be legit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
have a VIP rep.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't know who Madison B is, but that seems legit. Like my VIP rep texts me and says, "Hey, do you want to go to a game?" And I say yes, and he says, "Okay, I'll email you tickets."
Yeah. So Should be. I mean, is it at DraftKings.com?
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean,
like,
like, do you have a VIP rep?
Hotmail.
Right. Yeah. If like you don't have a VIP rep and you have like no idea what's going on and it's like some random Hotmail account, then no, it's probably not legit. But if you have a VIP rep named Madison and she asked you if you want to go to the game, then yeah, it is.
Right. Also, have they asked for your social? You know, like are they asking for
yeah? Are they asking for your
card
seed
number?
phrase?
Right. Send us 2 ETH and we'll send you 4 back. You know,
Right.
if that's what it is, then no. But yeah, should be legit. No reason not to be. All right.
Okay. Well, no, Morant's not expected to play. That seems to be where we're lost here. John Morant's doubtful.
What are you saying?
The guy who's been like just sitting in chat saying not to play Memphis guys the entire time thinks John Morant is playing.
Now, so you don't have to hear me, dude. Watch. I mean, I've been watching the injury report all day, along with shoot around reports. He's been doubtful since yesterday, and he's still doubtful today. So if he plays, well, we're still right because you have to operate under the assumption of an official injury report that says doubtful means that they are unlikely to play. You know, like imagine if we were taking every probable guy and just saying like, I think they're out tonight. Can't do that, Adam. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like if we're attacking this game as if John Morant's playing, I don't know what we're doing.
He's saying he's not. Either way, now look, I don't think you have to play 4 Memphis Grizzlies either.
I'm not playing 4 Grizzlies
at all. But the idea that none of them are going to get there because of the minutes is, you know, that you don't want to do that either at all. Tyus Jones plays 30 plus minutes, think he could play 34, 35. Like I said, hell, he plays 28. You're probably going to want this guy in every lineup. So thanks for the super chat as well. DFS dope strategies. If you had a question, hit us, but I don't see anything in there. So
to answer the question below it, I'm expecting Adams to get his normal rotation. Yeah, I don't think Memphis is taking Adams off the floor for anything Indiana's doing.
What could Indiana do that would possibly take him off the floor?
I don't know.
Me neither. Do you like him today? I know on the strategy show you talked about him being decent.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. He's to me, it's Jones and Brooks Jones at the top, followed by Brooks, then a step down to Payne Jackson, then a step down to Adams, then another step down to Melton, Clark, Anderson. As far as groups go, I think you can play Brooks and Melton with it only being a 4-game slate. It's not something I'd want to do a ton of, but I probably would say like a max 2 of Payne, Brooks, Melton works. I'd probably only want 1 of Adams, Clark, 1 of Jackson, Anderson, 1 of Clark, Anderson, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's really more of the front court that you're worried about opposed to limiting the guards and such in terms of groups. So, all right. Let's go to the other side of this one. Indy, by the way, thanks. 261 likes. We got 1,600 people watching, doing big things here. I wanted to shout out our boy, Winky Christ too. You know who I'm talking about on Twitter, right? You know him, Adam.
Yeah.
He said, watching Lavi and Adam shit my money on the deeper dive always hits me different. We've seen a lot of shows transform over the years, but these two together are just beautiful. The tenure is what it's all about. What a nice thing to say. I love that guy.
Yeah. Where was that? Twitter?
Yeah. He tagged you. He mentioned you.
Oh, I didn't have Twitter up.
Yeah. Good man. Appreciate you, bro. Well, we've been doing this show, 5 years now together?
Yeah, I think so.
Or more?
Yeah, because you would come to FanVice right before we went to Chicago, which was like 2017.
Yeah, so almost 5 years. Chicago.
Yeah,
that was a fun time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Almost 5 years. We've had some people with us all that time too. Respect.
Rinpack was there as a sub.
Yeah. Look at him now.
Yeah.
Mike with the free super chat, 12-month member. Could you get to 4 Memphis if it was TJ, Tyus Jones, Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, and Steven Adams? You're like you can, but let me ask you this though. How much benefit are you really getting from the front court guys with Ja out? Like Steven Adams is a massively low usage player anyway, and so are a lot of it. You know,
Like the potential benefit for Kyle Anderson would be if he runs back up point with the second unit and gets some more minutes that way. Not exactly what I'm projecting, but it could happen. My issue with getting to 4 Memphis, like, is you can play those guys. I mean, they don't really overlap. Like, let's say Jaren Jackson gets in foul trouble, you could easily see Kyle Anderson get more minutes than all of Jones, whichever DB that is, whether it's Payne or Brooks, and Adams all be fine. The problem is just that there's a lot of good plays on this slate, and when you start taking 4 guys from one team, there's still only one ball to go around, and so it's just, even if all 4 of those guys, it's kind of similar to the Clippers yesterday, except this isn't quite as good. I mean, the Grizzlies still have more players today than the Clippers did. But like yesterday, you could have said, oh, well, I'll play 4 guys from the Clippers. They'll all hit quote unquote value. And that was the case. But like, you still need the raw points. You don't necessarily want some guy in your lineup taking, up 24 points, even if he's 4K or something like that. So that's the main issue for me with rostering 4 guys. It's not that they can't pay off their salary. It's that it's really hard for them to score enough for all points that they're worth the roster spots.
Mike P says Brooks over 18.5. I'm with you, man. I actually had that on the betting video today, but it was minus 120. Now, last I looked, it's like minus 145. I
have him at 20.2 in 28 minutes.
Right. And I personally think he plays more than that's why I was more so talking about my speculation that he could get over 28 minutes was just from an over on the points prop. But I like it a lot, even if he plays 28. But it's juiced heavy now. You had to get that this morning or at least early afternoon. We just got some Indiana news, so good timing there. The Pacers will have Malcolm Brogdon today. Goga Bitadze is a game time decision. Lance Stevenson and Chris Duarte are also both in. Are there any significant, is there anything significant outside of Brogdon that someone like Stevenson, Duarte does for anybody else, like in terms of minutes or production?
No, I mean, it just makes the Pacers have more players in the rotation and makes a lot of the fringe guys riskier. Like, for example, Jalen Smith at 5,500. I think he's an interesting tournament play because in a lot of games, Indiana is just finding ways to get him minutes, whether it's at center, whether it's at the 4, and he's a good point per minute guy. But when you have, like, if you had Duarte and Stevenson out, and let's say Bitadze out, you could feel even more secure in Jalen Smith's playing time. With those guys in, and if we assume Bitadze is in, then there's a decent chance that you only get like 24 minutes instead of 28 from Smith. So it's with guys like that, Isaiah Jackson, O'Shea Brissett, those guys that are sort of decent tournament plays would have just looked a little bit better if Indiana was missing 2 or 3 normal rotation guys. But since they're not, they're just a little bit riskier. And then Brogdon clearly has a negative impact on Tyrese Halliburton, who's priced up to 9,300. Halliburton, I think, would have been a tournament play anyway, because you have CJ McCollum, you have Devin Booker. But with Brogdon in, even more of a, still high upside tournament play, but lower probability. 6 games this year with Brogdon, 1.14 DraftKings points per minute, 38.2 minutes per game. The playing time looks really good, but it's basically just, he'll be relatively low owned compared to Booker and McCollum. So in individual lineups, you can get there, but I think both of them just look better given that Brogdon's in.
Okay. Yeah, it makes a difference. I mean, we had him projected in, so there was that, but now we have a good idea. If Bitadze sits, do you think, I know I asked you this morning, but do you think there are, barring foul trouble, any potential additional minutes for Isaiah Jackson, get him up to 28 or so again?
I think if he can avoid foul trouble, sure. If he falls into that Jalen Smith category too, where if Bitadze is in, and we know that Duarte and Stevenson are in, then maybe he gets to 28, but also maybe he just plays like 24. If you get Bitadze out, then I'd feel a little bit more comfortable saying that if Jackson can avoid foul trouble, which is a massive if, that he would get to like 28 minutes, and you would get Jalen Smith playing like 20 behind him and 6 alongside him or something like that.
I had this in the betting video too, the over on blocks for Jackson. I was telling you before the show, he has the high of anyone that's played at least 300 minutes. He has the highest block rate in the league, 8.7%. He's averaging 3.6 blocks per 36. I mention all of that just to say that if he is out there, and as you said, and he's not in foul trouble, 28 minutes for Isaiah Jackson at a low 5K price point can look nice. Obviously, Steven Adams out there doesn't make life a whole lot easier, but How do you think if Batadze ends up sitting, that you'd get to some Isaiah Jackson?
I'd get to some, in like 150 max. I doubt he would be there in any of my small field stuff.
Yeah, any core lineup, sure.
Yeah, the power forward piece is pretty nice as well, just because you don't have to roster him at center. So yeah, like I think I can see getting to him, like especially in lineups where, say for example, you're limiting your Memphis exposure to 3 guys, and you happen to have Jones, Payne, and Brooks in that lineup, so you're not using Jaren Jackson. You need a power forward. Lineups like that, Isaiah Jackson makes a lot of sense, and the same goes for Jalen Smith, just not in the same lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Shiva, do you cover Prize Picks? We have a Prize Picks show most days that you can check out on this channel, as a matter of fact. So, do you think that Buddy Hield's ownership with Brogdon in is justified?
What's he at?
Like 21%.
That seems kind of weird. I mean, shooting guard, small forward is useful, and he's still likely to play a lot of minutes, but I don't know. He doesn't stand out. Like that seems like a lot of ownership. The only thing I could say is I haven't crunched lineups yet, so it's possible that he just fits in, to a lot of lineups really easily. Like you put in the guys that you like, and you just keep having $7,500 at shooting guard or small forward. In that case, it makes sense. Like I think he's fine, but yeah, 21% seems kind of high to me. And similarly, and someone had just asked this in chat, I'm expecting that we'll get more Brogdon ownership when we update ownership projections, but right now we have him at 7%. If he's low owned at 7,800, I do like getting there. I expect him to play, 34 to 36 minutes if this game's competitive. He's averaged 1.18 DraftKings points per minute in the 6 games he's played with Halliburton. I do think he's a high upside option.
All right. Now that we got through that game, unless there's anything else you want for Indy, we can move it on.
No, that's it. That's it for Indy. I mean, I guess to sum it up, like there's no one guy that stands out here, because the guys that I feel the most confident in their minutes, Halliburton, Brogdon, and Hield, are all reasonably priced. I think Brogdon looks the best out of that group. And then there are guys that you can gamble on in tournaments, because Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith in particular, are both very good point per minute producers. Their playing time is pretty volatile, so that makes them risky, but they're also not that expensive. So at relatively low ownership, I like, kind of taking shots at them, but they're not core pieces or anything.
Brooklyn, Orlando. Let's do this. Seth Curry. We're getting very timely news today. Very timely news. This is good stuff. Jordan Klein over there shaking his head, yet nodding his head in agreement. Love to see it. We've got the Brooklyn Nets, 10.5 point favorites, 232 total here. So this one has also come up. Without Seth, we'll get this out of the way first. Anything without Seth Curry that makes the Brooklyn Nets outside of Durant and Irving more appealing? And does it do anything in itself for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? I pretty much know the answer, but I'm asking anyway.
So for Durant and Irving, it doesn't matter, I don't think. I'm interested to see what the starting lineup is, because last game we had Patty Mills and Goran Dragic start, but Kyrie was also out that game. So my expectation is that one of them starts this game. If it's Patty Mills, he sucks, but he's 3,500, so he would still project as a pretty good point per dollar value. If it's Dragic at 4,200, he would also, I think, project as a pretty good point per dollar value, even though he's a little bit more expensive. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. And then also, I do think it at least somewhat increases the chances of Drummond and Claxton combining for at least close to 48 minutes, because if you get this team at full strength, minus Ben Simmons, but if you get Curry in, you get Kyrie in, then you expect the closing lineup a lot of times not to have either one of the centers and to have Kevin Durant. Last game when they were missing Kyrie and Curry, you saw basically 48 minutes from those two. Drummond played a lot. I think it's likely that you get at least close to that here, which makes both Drummond at 5,800 and Claxton at 3,900 pretty decent plays, albeit I wouldn't play them in the same lineup.
I'm very interested in Drummond today. Granted, he is pulling some ownership, but if you just look at his recent games, he's paced for one reason or another, 27. Like against Philly, 3 fouls in the first quarter, and then he didn't play at all the second, played the entire third quarter, 12 minutes in the third quarter, and then never came back out because they were getting the Sixers were annihilated by Brooklyn. I did bet him to double today. Was it like plus 140? I don't hate the over on his rebound props either. We have him over at Odd Shopper projected for 12.1 boards. But one interesting thing about this matchup, just in general, is Orlando is a horrible offensive rebounding team. They allow the second most defensive rebounds in the league. Drummond has the highest defensive rebound rate. So I think he just brutalizes them on the boards. And if that ends up being the case, you're just going to rack up a lot of opportunities on the glass, and then he can produce elsewhere too. I don't think Drummond gets enough credit for his ability to get you those stocks, those much needed stocks. Not as much in Brooklyn, but we see it all the time. Like if he finishes with 4 or 5 stocks in a game, it's not a huge shock. So he can kind of produce everywhere. And this is a very good matchup.
Yeah, he can produce everywhere. And even if you go back 3 games ago against Charlotte, where you got like 24 and a half minutes from Drummond, the rotation they ran in that game, I don't think is completely out of the realm of possibilities for like what happens going forward, where Drummond played in the fourth quarter. He just subbed out with like 2.5, 3 minutes to go. And then you got the closing lineup with Dragic, Durant, Irving, Curry, Brown. Obviously Curry's not in today. But even if you get something like that, where, maybe Patty Mills is in instead of Curry and Durant closes at center, you're still talking 24 minutes for a guy that should just destroy this Orlando front court.
I think so too. Yeah. And I do wonder if rotations maybe were just different in that game, because at one point they were up by 34 points in the third quarter. But I don't know. Charlotte made some inroads and made it relatively competitive towards the end. But you're right, like 24 minutes is not worst case. If 24 minutes is, barring foul trouble, worst case scenario for Drummond, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I still think worst case scenario is like 20, and you get Claxton playing well, or Patty Mills gets hot and they say, oh, okay, we're going to keep him out there and go small. Like worst case is still 18 to 20, but I do feel a little bit stronger projecting around 24 minutes or so from Drummond than I would have a couple of weeks ago. And also we have a little bit bigger sample now as well with him playing alongside Durant. He's up to 103 minutes this year, 1.25 DraftKings points per minute, 21.5% usage, 23.5% rebounding percentage.
Yeah, Durant's the one that's been hit the most rebounding wise with Andre Drummond out there. But yeah, the only time Durant's had significant rebound numbers is when I bet the under on it and he went for 14. But aside from that, yeah, he's rebounding is going to be deferred to Andre Drummond in a lot of spots. Let me ask you, how do you prioritize guys like, and I'm not saying you do, can you prioritize Durant and Irving today? Or can we go with just kind of more balanced lineups, not worrying about getting to a Durant or an Irving and sticking maybe in the 9K and below range?
I think you can. I don't have like a really strong preference there. Like I do think Durant's a very good play. I think Kyrie's a good play, but I mean, I for sure think you can, because I really think Devin Booker is a good play. I think CJ McCollum is good. They're both a little bit cheaper. You have a high upside Jonas Valanciunas in there. Maybe you have Cade Cunningham playing 100 minutes. You have, Wendell Carter at 7,400. So, Halliburton, if you wanted to get there, Brogdon, if you wanted to get there, there's a very, very strong, like $7,500 to $9,500 give or take range today. So I don't think it's a case where you have to be forcing in Durant, but also I think Durant's a very good play.
All right. Jacob with a super chat. Thanks, dude. Says, I may have missed this, so I want to get your take again, just in case. Who would you fellas say are the top 3 most negatively correlated pairs on the slate tonight?
Anybody that's a backup center to somebody
I was going
else.
to say anybody. Yeah. Anyone in the front court that's a backup center.
Yeah, I mean, Andre Drummond.
It doesn't play alongside each other at any point.
Right. Yeah, like Drummond, Claxton, I mean, Bam and Dedmon. Not that should matter. Joval, Hernan Gomez, Ayton, McGee.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's still a guy that could play like 18 and give you 35. But
yeah, just to make a broader point to this question, in NBA, I don't really worry a whole lot about that, with the exception of what I was just saying. Like, if guys aren't going to play minutes alongside each other, unless they're just both drastically underpriced, I'm not playing them together. But I'm not looking at it saying, or worrying too much about, if Tyrese Halliburton has a big game, then Malcolm Brogdon won't, or something like that, because it gets offset by if that game is like higher scoring than usual, or played at a faster pace than usual, then both guys benefit. And, if the game goes to overtime, both guys benefit. So with the exception of guys that are direct backups to each other and won't play alongside each other, I don't really worry about negative correlation. So that's why it was kind of like a obvious answer, I guess.
Our boy News Guy just dropped a potential bomb in premium Discord. John Morant will go through pregame warmups as a game time decision. And then Taylor Jenkins said, I don't see this as anything that lingers multiple games. So there you go.
Wonderful. This slate gets really difficult if Morant plays.
Very difficult. $4,900
fortunately,
Dylan Brooks is still interesting to me at $4,900 though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was kind of the thing. Like, if Morant played, I would still not hate playing a $3,400 Tyus Jones for 18 to 20 minutes. Clearly, he wouldn't be in like 100% of my lineups like he will now. But yeah, Brooks would still look good. Payne and Jackson would both still look fine. Adams would look fine. It's just they go from being clear top plays to just sort of there. Also, if he plays, then $10,600 Morant looks pretty good too.
Yeah, that's a good point. In a very good matchup. The Pacers bottom, 4 in defensive rating over the last month. Not good. Anybody for Orlando that is a priority right now? You have Wendell Carter Jr. in a good spot. Guy has been fantastic. Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton is RJ Hampton, but he's also very cheap. Franz Wagner. These guys are pulling ownership. I'm still waiting on the update here, but on our last run, they're all relatively popular for this slate.
I like Orlando quite a bit here because they're pretty favorably priced. And then you have Jalen Suggs out, which, while that doesn't make a huge difference because Orlando does run a deep rotation, it doesn't lead me to just project 36 minutes to any of these guys. It does help to lock in minutes where, like, I expect Carter Jr. and Anthony to play around 32. I expect 30 to 32 from Franz Wagner. I expect Hampton to play 26 to 28. So with Hampton, he's not a great point per minute guy. His assist percentage takes a huge hit when he's playing alongside Cole Anthony, but he's still only 3,400. He just looks like a pretty useful piece. Carter, Anthony, and Franz Wagner, I think, are all at least a little bit underpriced. I would say Anthony the most at 6,300, and then Carter and Wagner. But then, when you move down the ownership board, like those four are the top four guys in projected ownership. But then you get Markelle Fultz at 9%. He's 4,200. He's probably playing around 19 minutes, but he's doing everything with the second unit. And even if you go back to the start of the 2019 season, since he came to Orlando, when you take, Vooch and then all of the other point guards off the floor, Fultz has like a 25% usage rate and a 40% assist percentage. He's a really good point per minute guy. It's just that he's on a minutes limit as far as we know. So you can't say, oh, well, if he plays well, he'll get 4 more minutes because they're actively trying not to do that. So that's the issue with him. But at 9% at 4,200, he can still go for 28, 30 points if he plays well. Similarly, Mo Bamba is 5,500. He doesn't look as good to me as the other 4 starters, but he's also not getting the ownership. And we know that he has a ton of volatility in his game. Mo Wagner at 3,700 is someone that I don't have a lot of interest in right now, but he becomes somewhat interesting if, like, John Morant plays and you lose some of that cheap Memphis value. So I think there's a lot to get to on Orlando, starting with Hampton, Anthony, Carter, and Wagner.
Okay. 2 down, 2 to go. We'll continue to monitor any of this news. I still don't think Morant plays, but it would have just been nice to know that he wasn't. But that's okay. That's why you got Live Before Lock coming up next. Eric and Greg taking you up till 7, and then the post-lock show for 30 minutes. Hang with them through all of that. And also, be sure to check out Jock Market. Download it in the App Store, the Google Play Store, wherever it is, where they've turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. You can make money every hour, every minute, down to every second over at Jock Market by buying and selling shares of players in real time for real money. If you use the link in the description of the video, Jordan, I don't know if we have one that we can throw in chat as well. Go over to Jock Market, use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get up to a $50 deposit bonus when you sign up and deposit for the first time. You can find it in the App Store, the Google Play Store, wherever that is. They got football, baseball coming up, hockey. Of course, they have NBA, PGA, you name it. And you can use the pregame IPO feature to pick up shares of your favorite players, then buy them, sell them, buy more, sell them, hold them during the games. And outside of just a $50 deposit bonus, you have the first market guarantee where Jock Market refunds any losses in your first NBA market up to $100. And then to cap it off, we have free Jock Market IPO projections over at Awesemo to help you beat the market. They're free every day of the week. You don't even need an account. So head over there, download the app, Jock Market, JOCKMKT. Use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. get up to $50 deposit bonus, take advantage of the first market guarantee, take advantage of all of the free IPO projections that we have, and start winning some money. Beat that market over at the Jock Market. All right, let's do it. Detroit and Miami. Still waiting on Cade Cunningham, Adam. This is big because he's dealing with an illness, but as we talked about on the strategy show, the minutes are sky high for Cade Cunningham right now. And how many games do you think that the Pistons have either covered or pushed over their last 11 out of those 11?
10.
11.
I know they've been outright winning some of them.
They outright won 6 of those as dogs in every single one. They haven't been favored in a single one of those games. So they're hanging in there. Now, our last update, remember we both thought that Cunningham ownership seemed pretty high earlier? Yeah. Our last update has him at 12%. I don't know if that was as a result of the questionable tag, which is definitely possible. But let's say he plays and everything seems like it's all systems go, and he really does come in like sub 15%, and we assume he's going to play huge minutes, albeit in a tough matchup. What do you want to do with him?
Yeah, I mean, so if he's 10 to 12%, somewhere in there, he at least makes some sense in tournaments where I still think he's a little bit overpriced given a difficult matchup against Miami, given the fact that Miami is a very slow team and that Miami is a hell of a lot better than Detroit. There's a lot of things working against Cunningham here, but he's been playing huge minutes in competitive games. It's not like he's dealing with an injury. He's dealing with an illness. So if he plays, I assume he's fine. He would make sense in tournaments as long as the ownership stays low. It was just earlier at 20 whatever percent. I was like, I'll just find guys that aren't 8,300 facing Miami, but with the ownership where it is, I think he makes some sense. Also, still be paying attention to like him versus Brogdon. If we get an ownership update and Brogdon is still lower owned than Cunningham, I still prefer Brogdon. But if you get Cunningham coming down even more and Brogdon going up, then it makes Cunningham look even better relative.
I'm very interested to see what happens here with Ja and with Cunningham, 2 huge spots. Because if Cunningham is out, then let's say Ja plays and Cunningham is out, or even if Ja and Cunningham are both out, it's not going to open up the same value per se, especially given that the matchup is way worse and it's a much slower paced game. This is the only total that's come down throughout the day at 214.5. But what would that do for the rest of the Pistons?
If Cunningham's out?
Yeah.
So I assume that you would get, I don't with Diallo out, I actually don't know. I don't know who would start.
Malachor says, I'm all Detroit. Casey will sit Cade and continue to tank.
Dude, you said that Diallo was going to guard Butler like 2 minutes ago, and Diallo's not even playing.
And they've won 6 of 11. They're playing, man. All right, so should we try and figure? We could just leave this to the live before lock crew, but I don't. There's no Frank Jackson. There's no Diallo. And Killian Hayes is active. You have Saban Lee. Do any of those? Do we just see him shifted up a little bit?
Right. So I have no idea what they'll do. They could go Rodney Magruder as a placeholder. They could slide Grant to the 3 if they wanted to. And just go bigger with Bagley alongside Stewart. They could throw in Isaiah.
Slide Hayes into the 2.
Yeah, I mean, they could put Hayes in. They could. Well, no, that one gets tough because then you have Hayes, Kojo. Oh, right, but it's Cunningham we're talking about. So yeah, right. You could go Hayes. They could go, Isaiah Livers. I don't really know what they would do. I don't really like any of it. Like if Magruder starts, if Livers starts, they're 3K. You can gamble, I guess, but like neither one's going to look very good. If Bagley starts, he would look better, but he's still up to 5,900. I think and even Jeremy Grant, he probably would play more minutes if Cunningham is out one way or the other, but he hasn't seen a really big change in his rates with Cunningham out this year anyway. Sadiq Bey kind of, always has a high ceiling, but it's tough to expect a lot from. Out of the guys that are in the normal lineup, Corey Joseph, I think actually is the biggest beneficiary in terms of per minute production, and he also would probably play more. At 4,400, you do get a bump in assist percentage for him, ball in his hands more. So I don't know. I still hate this spot. It just kind of becomes rolling the dice on some guys for Detroit that you're not going to be very confident in, I guess.
And if Kate is in, any other thoughts there?
No.
All right.
Jimmy Butler is playing.
Yep. With the toe.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Miami then. I'm still waiting on this ownership update, seeing if we get anything. No. Okay. We have free content today, though. If you guys are looking to get in on that action, ownership projections are free today. PGA golfer projections are free. NHL top stacks are also free. So if you want to get in on that action, do it right now. If you're looking to get some other good stuff, you got the NBA pass, $29.95 for the month. Ownership, boom bust tool, top stacks is for all the other sports. Lineup builder, ownership projections, player projections. We've got, if you want to do basketball, you can do that. If you want to do every sport, whether it's NASCAR, MMA, hockey, baseball coming up, basketball, esports, golf, we got everything. All of the tools for all of them, built by, the best team out there. Alex Baker himself, managed by guys like Sean Zahn. And it always sounds like I'm saying Sean John, but it's Sean Zahn. It's a tough one, At Steve Buzzard, the Colts, these guys know what's up. So you could do a year, a month, whatever you want to do, a week express pass for less than $5. And last thing, if you want to get in on the promos that we have right now, the best bets Discord, show me them picks, or just go to, let me see them picks. Just go to awesemo.com/promos and check it out. You've got our best bets Discord package is brand new, and our March Madness package, which is also brand new. It's literally everything. Promo code madness, 10% off right now. If you use that, it's everything throughout the entire tournament, all of our projections, all of the bets, you name it, everything through the entire championship, or through the tournament, through the championship, for only $20. Madness is the promo code, but I would suggest you just go to awesemo.com/promos and click that button. All right.
We just got an ownership update. Cunningham's still sitting at about 10%. The one that I was really interested in, Malcolm Brogdon's up to 18%. I think that makes sense. He's still fine there. Heels down to 15%. Still okay, but not as appealing as when he was at 7.
Thoughts on the, okay, actually, let me just update this.
Also, your boy Isaiah Jackson's at 20%. I think that's okay. I will say that 6% owned Jalen Smith is a pretty strong leverage play if that ownership holds.
And I'm assuming we still have Goga in, right? Yeah, we still have Goga at 5.5. So, all right. Miami Heat, we know Butler's in, so that should help shape things up for us a little bit. Him and Bam, what are your thoughts?
I think Butler and Bam both look pretty good here. Bam grades out really well. And while he is center only on DraftKings, the center position isn't quite as deep today. There's still a lot of really high upside centers, but the pricing is, for the most part, closer to correct than it is on a lot of slates. So I do like getting to Bam here. I think he should have a lot of success against Detroit. Butler, I think, looks fine at 8,600. Pretty reasonable price tag for him. After those two, it gets pretty tough. There's obviously a ceiling for guys like Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry, but I think they are pretty much correctly priced for everybody being in. PJ Tucker's cheap. Duncan Robinson's cheap. If you want to, throw darts at those guys, that's fine, but I wouldn't be building around them. I'd seen people mention Markieff Morris earlier, 3K flat, played like 17 minutes last game. That was a game where Jimmy Butler was out, so I still don't even know if he's ahead of Max Strus in the rotation. I don't know who the backup 4 is. Either way, I wouldn't be going crazy trying to get there, but just kind of pointing it out that, if you are someone that wanted to get there, I'm not positive he's even ahead of Strus.
Okay. John Sands, their ownership projections, we're projecting them. We don't have the ownership. People always assume that without really thinking it through. And I get, there's a lot of people that are newer to DFS, but you'd never have accurate ownership projections when, take you for example, if you're playing 150 max, oftentimes you're not getting those lineups in with the news until a minute before lock anyway. So
yeah. I mean,
Just
the same way that we have player projections without the game being played first.
Well, I'm saying they're just assuming that it's everyone's lineups are locked in by 4 p.m. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't work. All right. Anything else you want to talk about for Miami?
Nope.
Let's wrap it up then. Phoenix, New Orleans Pelicans. Someone told me Laffy could learn a few things, learning how to host, always running late. Well, guess what? We got 8 minutes to go. I don't know. Maybe we'll go late intentionally. But you've got Phoenix.
I got shit to do.
Yeah, we all do, man. We all do. Phoenix, we're not going late. Phoenix and New Orleans. The Suns, this game, this is the one I was talking about. The total came up like 5.5 points. Suns are 4.5-point favorites. You've got Devin Booker here headlining the show for Phoenix. It's a really interesting spot, especially that CJ McCollum is playing on the other side. Phoenix only a 4.5-point favorite. It's just one of these really good spots for Devin Booker, where assuming the game, stays competitive. We've seen him go 37 minutes, 38 minutes in regulation in close games with, exceedingly high usage. So I'm very much interested in Devin Booker today.
Yeah, so am I. And actually, I wanted to see what the ownership on him looks like now, because I had him pretty high up in both of my tournament videos earlier. Still getting 24% on DraftKings compared to 33% for McCollum. I think that's a really just interesting point to pay attention to, is the ownership between those two in this game. On DraftKings, they're very similarly priced. On FanDuel, you have a big difference where Booker's almost $2,000 more expensive, but Booker's projected for 19% ownership there. McCollum's at 48%. It's not that I disagree with McCollum being that popular, and we'll talk about that when we get to that side of the game, but I think Booker looks really good and is going a little bit under-owned here. You have Cameron Payne, playing alongside him, so it's not quite as appealing as when Payne was out and Paul was out. But this season, when Booker has played without Chris Paul on the floor, he's averaged about 1.31 DraftKings points per minute. If you put Cameron Payne on the floor, it only drops to like 1.27 or 1.28 DraftKings points per minute. You're still talking about a very heavily involved Devin Booker. An overall, a game that is expected to be high scoring overall. Yes, I expect Devin Booker to be defended by Herbert Jones, which, he's a really good defender, but that's not enough to take me off of Devin Booker in a game where I expect the ball to be in his hands a ton. So I think Booker looks really good. I think he's projected to go a little bit under-owned right now as well. After him, it gets really difficult on the Phoenix side. Cameron Payne's price tag is skyrocketed to 7,700. I think DeAndre Ayton at 7,300 looks okay, but is still kind of difficult to get to. Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder have both gotten a little bit more expensive. Bridges, plays a ton of minutes, but just doesn't do a whole lot. So outside of Booker, I think is a priority from Phoenix. Outside of that, it's kind of just, if you land on a little bit of the other guys, it's okay, but nothing that stands out.
All right, 5 minutes, 92 likes to 500. I think this must be made a priority here. Atone for your sins in the event that you've forgotten. It's okay, but 92 to go. Jordan, have you hit that thumbs up yet? I didn't think. Oh, you did. Okay, I know Adam did.
I just did.
There we go. All right. 91 to go. Let's make it happen. Check out Terry's article. He just linked it in there. Terry writes some good stuff for NBA over at awesemo.com. And I believe that article is free. So, Jesus, how many happy birthday wishes can Dave get from chat? Yeah, not my birthday. Thank you. Not my birthday, though. 11 days. 11 days will be there. 35, man. 35. All right. New Orleans Pelicans.
At least you're not as old as Trafford.
What's he like, 60 now?
Something like that.
I think he's probably 40. I think he's 40.
40 was my guess.
Yeah. What are you, 33, 32?
32, yeah.
And Jordan, you're 27. 27. God, they know your middle name now. They know your age. Time to worry, man.
For the guy that was confused by me saying that Devin Booker was under-owned and a really good play on FanDuel, that means that, yeah, he's a good play on FanDuel.
All right. Cut to the chase. Let's get to the Pelicans before we wrap this one up. McCollum is in. Brandon Ingram is out. So if you let's zoom out here, Adam. You got Durant. Let's just say Morant is out. So you have KD, Irving, Devin Booker. We just talked about. We both like him quite a bit. Guys like Halliburton, Brogdon is in. Jimmy Butler is similarly priced. And then you've got McCollum, who's just been on a tear since he came to New Orleans, even alongside Ingram. Where would he settle in for you among all these other guys tonight?
So I think he's at the top, and that's why I said when I was talking about Booker that I didn't want it to come off as I think McCollum's getting too much ownership. It's just that relative to Booker, I think the gap maybe is a little bit wider than it should be. But McCollum's been great since coming to New Orleans. Without Ingram on the floor and with Joval out there, he's still played about 181 minutes, and he has a usage rate of about 33%. Assist percentage is about 42%. Even if those rates come down a little bit, he still looks good. It's not a great matchup against Phoenix, but you're expecting a ton of minutes from McCollum. You're expecting him to have the ball a lot. Matchups only go so far. New Orleans still has around a 113 implied total. So I think McCollum looks very, very good. He's really inexpensive at 8,500 on FanDuel. He's 9,400 on DraftKings. Looks great on both sites, and I think is still actually going a little bit under-owned even at that high ownership level. It's just that if you have a lineup where you have a bunch of other popular plays, maybe in that lineup, go from McCollum down to Booker or something like that. But I think he's one of the best plays on the slate.
Me too. By the way, thank you guys. 582 likes. I mean, that's just over the top. It means a lot, not to me, but to us keeping the lights on around this joint. So now that McCollum's in, it takes away a lot from everybody else here. It's basically CJ McCollum and then a bunch of guys who are either wildly overpriced or just overpriced because CJ McCollum had been out along with Brandon Ingram. Is that wrong to say?
No, I think it's right. I mean, you had seen, Najee Marshall getting more run, Trey Murphy and Alvarado getting more run, but then their prices just skyrocketed and you get McCollum back. So I think Jonas Valanciunas is interesting to me in tournaments. I think from a median projection standpoint, he's a little bit overpriced here, but he does still have about a 25% usage rate without Ingram and with McCollum on the floor in 104 minutes this year. He's averaged around 1.25 DraftKings points per minute. And we have, especially assuming Morant sits, we have enough value on this slate that I don't mind slightly overpaying for somebody that has as high a ceiling as Joval does. He's only projected for 9% ownership. So I really, really like that play in tournaments. After that, it just gets difficult. I mean, Joval, it's like, yeah, he's a little bit overpriced, but he has, a clear path to success. Guys like Marshall and $6,800 Devontae Graham and $6,100 Herbert Jones, they're more than a little bit overpriced, I think. So it's really tough for me to get to those guys.
Favorite top tier plays on the slate, 1 and 2, assuming with no Durant. Is it going to be McCollum and Booker?
Yeah, McCollum Booker.
Yeah, I think it is. Favorite value, not from Memphis, if you're being a little bit different here. Not obviously Memphis is the best value with the assumption that Morant is out. But if it's not Memphis, who do you think it is?
I mean, point per dollar, I think it's RJ Hampton. I don't think he's nearly as exciting as somebody like Tyus Jones. I haven't projected quite a bit lower, but if you're removing Tyus Jones, then if you're just talking cheap value, I think it's Hampton. If you can go up, a little bit more in price and get to like the 5K range, I think, maybe like Franz Wagner or, if you can go up to 5,800 Drummond, but I think it's Hampton if I can't go to Memphis.
And I did not know Awesemo Hall of Fame was on the run sheet today. I thought it was breaks of God. So, nah, we'll do neither. It's fine. We'll make up for it. All you guys that made the Hall of Fame, that tweeted us at Awesemo HOF, we'll get you the free month for sure. I'll get you up here. We'll shout you out. Tomorrow on the deeper dive, we'll make things happen because I want everyone to get the credit that they deserve. You're not going anywhere. I'll make sure that the team, Jordan, let's make sure the team, that anyone's today that haven't been talked about are still up there because, people live for this shit. I don't want any disappointed people around here. So I promise you guys will get back there. John Morant is out. So there's that. Cool. Adam, fun show as always, man. You have shit to do, as you said, and I quote you verbatim. So go on, make your lineups and head down to the bar, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Sounds good. Good show, man.
Yeah, man. All right. We'll see you guys. Appreciate you as always. Good luck tonight. Have a great rest of the night. Eric Gregg coming up next on Live Before Lock. Peace.
Thursday is one game, and then Friday is 12 games again.
Oh, joy. That's going to be crazy. Orlando and Detroit on Thursday, though. Get hype. Welcome, everybody, to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Jock Market. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking this four-gamer, not the one-gamer that we have on Thursday because of the NCAA tournament, but yes, 4 games today. John Morant officially getting ruled out. Thank you. Dear God. What, Jordan Klein?
Is my camera too high? Do I need to tilt it down, Jordan?
It's been manicured to what it looks like now. So
Okay, I'm good.
Did something happen that I'm not aware of?
No, I was just looking at the thing and I was like, boy, I look, whatever, Jordan cropped it, so it's not a big deal. I just thought the camera placement was not in the right spot. But yeah, carry on. That's my bad.
Welcome to the Live Before Lock show presented by Jock Market. I'm Eric Lindquist. We got producer Jordan Klein doing an excellent job with no hiccups whatsoever behind the virtual glass. Thank you so much. Shout out to him. Give him some love. But my guy, Greg Ehrenberg, we're back in town here Tuesday through Friday. That's kind of been the norm for us here over the course of the last month, 2 months here of the NBA season. I'd say it's been profitable. Let's keep it going at Ehrenberg DFS if you want to go check all of his Twitter takes, which are enjoyable in my opinion. Greg, how you doing, my dude?
Yeah, good. And this is a decent NBA slate, but we were talking, I don't know if the audience caught what we were talking about right before we got on, but in general, this is not the best week for NBA slates because they've changed the schedule to acquiesce to the NCAA tournament schedule. So as a result, 4 games today, they didn't want to compete with the first day of the NCAA tournament. So there's only one NBA game, and it's a terrible one on Thursday. We've got a 1 game. Are we doing an hour and a half for a 1 game Magic Pistons slate? Because that's going to have to be some shenanigans. But Thursday night is a 1 game slate Magic Pistons. But since it's 1 game, we have 12 games tomorrow and 12 games Friday. So a little bit of a wonky schedule. So this is going to be an important slate because this is going to be the one.
Yeah, this is the one. That's something that, Greg is waiting to hear one day. You're the one. You're the one. Smash the like button for my friend Greg over there who yearns for the touch of a lovely woman. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of those things would be nice. Plus, she will enjoy Greg the third leg. Let's get to it, my friend. What?
All right. I was going to say, at least I'm not Joey Corman trying to bet Rashawn Holmes props against you to get dates from your friends.
Yep, that's something that happened. Greg, we have news. John Morant's out, so that's good. Any other piece of news that you're waiting on that's going to help you shape your lineups here before lock?
I mean, the John Morant news, like we've known he isn't playing all day, right? So it's not like it changed anything. Cade Cunningham's questionable, which I guess kind of has to matter just because it's only a 4-game slate, but it's not like I'm going to be flocking to roster a bunch of Pistons guys if he gets ruled out, nor am I playing a ton of Cade Cunningham if he's in. He's in my player report right now just because I think there's a chance he goes under-owned because of the questionable designation. Goga Bitadze is questionable. If he's out, then it means that we're going to get some extra minutes out of the guys in the front court for the Indiana Pacers, like Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson. So they matter a little bit, but obviously the John Morant news was the big one on the slate. And once again, just kind of a reminder to people about the NBA injury reports, game time decision doesn't mean anything. John Morant was doubtful the entire day. Just because they said he was going to be a game time decision, it doesn't mean that he was all of a sudden not doubtful. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind as you're looking at injury reports or building lineups. Game time decision really doesn't mean anything. Yeah, vocabulary is kind of the thing. You got to be alert about what it all means. Doubtful means doubtful, and it means a lot would have to happen in order to actually have something take place. And as we get going, my friend, the piece of news I was going to bring up, Cade Cunningham officially ruled out. Is there anything we can do right now in the next 1 minute here from Odd Shopper, from something else that we can take advantage of this news? And then we'll get to the DFS implications. Not really, because a lot of the prop bets were kind of priced under the assumption that he was probably like more likely to sit than play that. And, who do we give all these minutes to? It all of a sudden becomes more appealing from Detroit. I think that there's reason to think Jeremy Grant gets a little boost. Same with somebody like Sadiq Bey. But something that Adam mentioned earlier when I was doing my NBA injury report video with him, we have Isaiah Stewart back in the mix for the Detroit Pistons. And that just adds another guy into this rotation that could kind of take some of the place of what Cade Cunningham was. So ultimately, I don't think this makes a massive, massive difference.
Corey Joseph, though, for DFS implications.
I don't even think it changes him that much.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because you see Like, how many times do you have a situation where a guy gets ruled out who's playing legitimately 41 and 44 minutes the last two games, has had 26.9, 35.7% usage here, nearing 30% usage here over the course of the last 2 weeks. And it's just taking this many shots. I mean, it is absolutely bonkers to me that we're not like giving anybody an upgrade. Somebody has to benefit, no?
Ish. I don't mean Ish Smith wasn't on the team. I'm just saying like Ish in general. Like, I think there are guys that get an upgrade, but not enough to really matter for DFS. You mentioned Corey Joseph before, and there's extra minutes, some extra usage go to Corey Joseph, but keep in mind he started for a lot of the season and he's just garbage for fantasy. So we've seen now 31 starts from Corey Joseph this year. He averages 28 minutes per game and less than 20 fantasy points as a starter this year. I don't think that all of a sudden now it's like, oh, look, Cade's out. Now he's getting 38 minutes and we're projecting him for 30 fantasy points. It's a couple extra minutes. It's a little more production, but it's not enough, I think, to make him a primary player or anything. And the other thing to consider as well is we have a bunch of value on the Grizzlies. And I don't think the opportunity cost of rostering a Corey Joseph at the expense of some of the Grizzlies' value is really worthwhile.
Head to FD. Odd Shopper's just pointing me in this direction. 7.5 points for Corey Joseph. There's 6.5 on Prize Picks, by the way. Smash that one. Oh, get over on 6.5 there. That's the first thing I just did. I hope you can get over there and do that too. Maybe they'll pull it off the board here in the next minute or two, but it doesn't look like it. So take advantage of that. But you're getting plus 108 on the over of 7.5. Odd Shopper, I already identified it as a 15% ROI. Nothing substantial there, but with Cade Cunningham off the floor, I think that's the one way I'll take advantage there. But heading back over to the DFS space, I think you're right. I mean, I'm just kind of running everything here. I mean, you're going to get, it's just so weird that I'm not upgrading really anybody that substantially. I think Jeremy Grant has to get a little bit of a bump up, but now the ownership's going to be rocking too. And I just think there's better spots to go on this slate. So I'm with you. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's go position by position here, because if there's anything that really sticks out for Detroit as we update everything, we will talk about it. But first guy on the slate that we have to talk about, no question about it, is Tyus Jones. We'll get to the rest of this Memphis squad after it. No John Morant means Tyus Jones gets fired up in bulk. He's an absolute stud in these situations, nearly a fantasy point per minute guy. Are you lock buttoning him across the industry today?
Probably. So I'll have a better feel of this after I update for the Pistons stuff to see if anything has really changed. I don't anticipate it will, and I had him in 100% of my lineups before. It's a 4-game slate. There aren't that many value options to look at. Tyus Jones, for comparison's sake, Tyus Jones versus Corey Joseph. We've seen, I just read off Corey Joseph's numbers as a starter this year. Tyus Jones is averaging nearly 30 fantasy points as a starter. And you just kind of compare these two guys together, and there's just not really a situation where I think it makes sense to play Corey Joseph over Tyus Jones. And there just isn't a value play that competes with him, in my opinion, today. Is there anybody you look at as even being in the same stratosphere as a cheap point guard?
No, not even remotely. And I will say, I mean, you've been doing this a long time. We get these senses when it's like DeMarcus Cousins 3K. That's a lock button. There's things like that. I do think Tyus Jones, when you're talking like 4,200, is something over on FanDuel where you can kind of get away from that tag in a lineup or two. But I mean, it's just so hard. He's only like 58.9% owned. And I say only because it's kind of surprising. We've seen these guys, these type of plays be 70, 75% routinely in some of these spots. And maybe that's where he ends up being. In that event, he would be negatively leveraged, but I don't think it really matters. He is by far the easiest guy to just fire up and figure out the rest of your lineup from there. Opens up the entire board for you to do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think I should point this out too, just as we're on point guards, and I just updated some of my minutes and whatnot for the Detroit Pistons guys. Corey Joseph, I ended up projecting him for about 23.5 fantasy points, and Killian Hayes around 21. So with that in mind, is it terrible for them at say like a 44 and a 3,900 price tag on DK? No, but it's still not a crazy amount of value to those prices. So if you build a bunch of lineups and you get these guys and 10% or whatever, fine, but they're not going to be priorities for me. So just kind of wrapping up everything with the Cade Cunningham news. I don't think this opens up any one guy as a terrific option.
I think that's fair. Everybody's going to get an upgrade. Everybody's going to see a small bump, but it's nothing that's substantial to the way where they're going to rival what I'm doing here with a Tyus Jones. And then going down the rest of this roster, we got to talk about the rest of the Memphis situation. And I think we can kind of lump most of them together. We'll kind of stick primarily with the guards here, but I think we got to kind of look at every piece of value here on the board. We've got Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton. I suppose we'll save Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark for a little bit later here, but rank those next guys for me. Is there anybody specifically site to site that you might be upgrading between Brooks, Bane, Melton? Or is that going to kind of be the order for you in the same way that the ownership is falling for the field?
So you were saying Brooks, Bane, and then Melton?
Correct. Out of those three.
All right. So for me, it is Brooks, Melton, and then Bane. I think Brooks is the clear top of those three. No way around it, because the price. And by the way, I'm starting with DraftKings right now, and then I'll talk on FanDuel afterwards. But to me, Tyus Jones is the clear number one value on Memphis. Number two is Dillon Brooks, just because the price is so far off on him. 4,900 on DraftKings is so cheap, especially when John Moran is out of the picture. The last time that Dillon Brooks was healthy for this team, he was 6,800. And then he gets injured, has to miss games, comes back. I don't think there's any reason to think he's going to be severely limited. He played 26 minutes last game, and I think, we could expect 30 plus from him today, really, without really too much issue. So the 4,900 is just off. DeAnthony Melton then is a price point and just an ownership thing. He's not projected for all that much ownership right now. And he's really, really difficult to nail down the minutes of, because there have been times where John Moran is at. We've seen actually games where Tyus Jones, John Moran, and Desmond Bane were all out, and DeAnthony Melton becomes a 40% chalk play and he plays 16 minutes. Then all those guys are back next game. He plays 26 minutes and scores 30 fantasy points. So there's no real rhyme or reason to what we expect from a playing time or a minutes perspective from DeAnthony Melton. But just because he has that kind of upside and the ownership isn't there right now, that's something that makes me like him as one of the only possible contrarian options for Memphis. The reason he's one of the only possible contrarian options is because everybody else is popular other than him. And then Desmond Bane comes in after that. Still a fine option though, but he's more appropriately priced at 6,700 on DK. Do you disagree with any of those rankings?
No, I think I'm with you. I think Dillon Brooks pretty clearly is the guy. I mean, he played 26 minutes. I didn't know what to expect first game back, but this is a team that title aspirations might be lofty, but I'd say the West is pretty wide open compared to most of the time. You have the top-heavy Phoenix situation. Denver, I think, is very, very live to win when you get Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray back there. But I'm looking at Dillon Brooks as a guy that they were just kind of waiting to utilize until he was like 100% good to go. Maybe not to Kevin Durant capacity where they really put him on bubble wrap, but Dillon Brooks, 26 minutes. That makes me optimistic here for this spot where he could play 28, 30 minutes. And that is a smash at just 4,900. I remember situations with no John Morant. We were paying nearly $7K for this guy last season. So I think Dillon Brooks definitely stands out as a smash. I think you've talked in the past, maybe I'm just having deja vu, but like within the last year, we've talked a lot about Dillon Brooks and how much you do not like him. Correct. No, I do remember that. And not only that, but he is a willing participant in the shooting department.
Which is why I don't like him from a real life perspective, but also why we should be liking him for DFS on a lot of slates and for today. The thing I always say about Dillon Brooks is this is a Memphis team with Jaren Jackson Jr., John Moran. If you ask Dillon Brooks who the best player on the Memphis Grizzlies is, he will say it is Dillon Brooks. And for the longest time this year, when Morant and Brooks were both healthy, because remember at the start of the year, Brooks missed, I think it was a thumb injury that he had where he missed the first month or so of the season. The Grizzlies were playing really well. Dillon Brooks comes back, immediately becomes the highest usage guy on the team and really cut into the production of both Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant. But now that we have Morant out, it's just hard for me to think that Brooks isn't going to come in and just shoot a whole bunch of shots. So those are my DK rankings. FanDuel is fairly similar. Tyus Jones 1, Dillon Brooks 2, but then it's Desmond Bane 3, DeAnthony Melton 4. The difference being is that Bane is $6,600 as opposed to $6,700 on DK. That one's not as quite significant as a difference, but DeAnthony Melton's all the way up to $5K on FanDuel, and that's a little bit of a tougher pill to swallow.
Agreed. And that was as concise of a Memphis breakdown as you're going to get. I really don't have anything to add. It was more of just a talking point about Dillon Brooks and kind of your shared history there with him. We got some super chats, and then we'll continue on with the guard situation, but obviously Memphis deserves a lot of attention today.
Gogo was ruled out too.
I love it. We're looking at great $1.99 FD Hayes or Kojo. Last man in, chalky single entry build for FanDuel, Hayes or Kojo for you?
If it's just straight fantasy points, the answer is Corey Joseph. But once again, getting back to what I said before, neither of them are high priority plays. If you have them if you're building a bunch of lineups and you have 10% of exposure or so to these guys, that is not an issue for me. If you're building lineups though, and you're prioritizing getting to Corey Joseph or Killian Hayes, I think that's a mistake. I'm curious to see where the ownership gets to. Hopefully these guys are really popular. I don't think that's going to be the case though.
I don't know. Corey Joseph could get up there. I think you're right, though. Killian Hayes is going to be really unowned.
It's really hard to project him well. It's really hard. Even at a 4,400 price point, it's hard to project him well, especially in relation to the Memphis guys. He's $1,000 more expensive than Tyus Jones and only $500 cheaper than Dylan Brooks. It's really hard to justify a lot of exposure to him for me.
Okay. Teddy Wayman, Booker or CJ on FanDuel in tournaments?
Ooh, all right. So
what a great kind of segue. We'll talk about the top guys here at the guard position. I want to put Kyrie Irving into the conversation too, just because, every single guard, we're going to have value. We have Tyus Jones. He's at a guard spot. So obviously you're going to only have, a shooting guard spot, a guard and a utility. So 3 other players that you'd have access to on DK. Tyus Jones fills up a lot of spots for FanDuel for me as well. So 3 spots you're looking at rounding out your rosters with there. You've got Devin Booker, who I think, alongside at 10-4 is just going to be way less popular on FanDuel. But Devin Booker is going to be way less popular just because he's so expensive. CJ McCollum, I've loved this situation for him constantly, but he's just so much more popular. Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Halliburton, who are your favorite spend ups at guard, Greg?
Yeah, well, to answer the question we got from Teddy, it's hard players to compare because, like you said, one of them is 10-4, the other one's 8-5. I have CJ McCollum projected for more fantasy points than Devin Booker, and he's nearly $2,000 less expensive. So it's hard for me to not say McCollum there just because I think he opens up so much more in terms of lineup flexibility. So even at the popular ownership there, I'm going to lean towards McCollum.
That's great. Yeah, I'm going to lean his direction as well. DK, it's really, really tricky because you've got McCollum at 9,400 and he's very popular there. And then you're looking at Devin Booker at 96, less popular. So I don't know. I'm more inclined to maybe go a little bit over and maybe switch their ownerships a little bit in my own builds, but we shall see as we get closer. I'm still updating Detroit here as we go. One more super chat. We appreciate you guys. Jake Lindland, DK. We got Terry Taylor and WCJR, Wendell Carter Jr., or Isaiah Jackson and Wagner Bruce Brown. Terry Taylor is not even in the realm of playable for me today.
Well, one sec. First, I have to go over and I just have to read what it is that he wrote because that was a lot of names there. So I'm scrolling. It is.
I feel very accomplished that I correctly worded and said all the things there. At least his name is in kicker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not that again. We don't want to drag you into that. I hope we get somebody else with. I hope somebody else gets with one of those
Greg,
names.
I really don't.
Oh, I do. That was. There's very few days you remember in your life, but that's top. It's top 2 and it's not second. I'll
your
put
graduation day, the first time you laid with lady, the day
Eric getting made fun of on a stream, number one. Without. I mean, that's really where my priorities are and what I find entertaining. As for Jake's question, I'm with you. I don't like Terry Taylor. So I kind of feel like we have to take that end of the equation out. Maybe Terry Taylor ends up starting again. That would change my opinion. As of right now, that's a no, though. Isaiah Jackson, I'm going to like now that Goga Batadze is out. But I don't really like Wagner or Bruce Brown for this slate. So, let's see. Who do I have projected better, Wagner or Brown? Do you have a strong... I
don't know. Somebody called me thick, and then my brain exploded.
So and never mind. You meant, okay, so yeah, so it's Franz Wagner and Isaiah Jackson.
I don't know how you landed on it. I'm not being helpful. I'm sorry. I apologize. I will be better next time.
No, you won't.
No, I probably won't. Continue on. Yes, you got it, Franz Wagner. Go ahead.
That was the answer.
Okay, cool. We're moving on. Rest of the guard position. Talk to me about these spend ups that we have here at guard, because Tyus Jones opens up the opportunity to get up to the likes of a Kyrie Irving if you want to do that. Devin Booker, CJ McCollum, Tyrese Halliburton. I know that CJ McCollum makes a lot of sense at 8,500 over on FanDuel, but even on DK, he's getting a lot of ownership at 9,400. And I think we have some viable pivots in the range there. Who are you landing on the most at guard, Greg?
So the most at guard, and we're taking the Grizzlies guys.
Taking the Grizzlies off. Yeah.
Beyond the Grizzlies guys, because we've talked about them a lot already. What do you think the Nets starting lineup looks like? We haven't seen it yet. Right now, I think Goran Dragic makes for a really strong value option, but that's assuming he starts. I'm going to have to change that a bunch if he doesn't end up being in. I know you asked me about spend up options, but we've kind of talked through most of the value options. So I figured I should bring him up anyway. And I wanted to ask you that question. But as of now, I'm assuming Dragic starts. I like him a lot. That still remains to be seen. If he starts, it's going to have to change. If that's not the case, maybe end up getting more RJ Hampton in that situation. I think McCollum and Booker are both strong options, and there just aren't that many pay up guys here. And there's a lot of value. So like I'm getting to a lot of McCollum, I'm getting to a lot of Booker. I get to a lot of Durant. I get to a lot of Jimmy Butler. I get to a lot of Bam Adebayo. It's not hard to get to all of the pay up options today. And I like McCollum and I like Booker. I think the ownership makes sense.
Yep, I like them both as well. I do like getting to some Malcolm Brogdon, 7,800. We've seen him play big minutes for this Pacers team when you least expect it. And I mean, just seems like they're going to run him into the ground. Sore Achilles, what? It's not really a thing. So Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, it's absolutely a thing. They just don't care. Malcolm Brogdon, 7,800, a guy that I'm going to be over even 18% that we have there. I haven't projected a little bit higher here than it looks like. Awesemo, 34 minutes. They've got him in for there. I have him at 36. So that's going to change that a little bit fractionally going up against Memphis. It just seems like there's no bars held whenever he gets, whenever he's good to go here in this spot. So I'm getting over there. I like the Dragic call. I do not know what that starting lineup is going to be. I would assume they probably want to bring Dragic off the bench to kind of stagger a little bit with Kyrie. And then you have Patty Mills get the start here, but that's waiting to be seen. I think it's pretty negligible news. I'm not that excited about Patty Mills, but I'm very excited. As you said, if Dragic does get the start here, that will be something that I definitely do here. Anything else at guard that you want to talk about before we move ourselves on?
I guess we should talk about RJ Hampton as well, who hasn't been the best fantasy producer as of late, but the minutes are there and the opportunity is there because once again, Orlando a little bit banged up in the backcourt. It's been more of a congested rotation ever since Markelle Fultz came back. However, the situation's a little bit different because Jalen Suggs is out again. Gary Harris, Terrence Ross, these guys both getting phased out of the rotation a little bit. I just want to ask you one thing, though. Any possibility the Markelle Fultz minutes start to go up? Because that's one thing that's in the back of my head here.
Probably not this early on for a guy that, I mean, it seems like there's like a tight 20. Like there's no way that he's going above 20 minutes. Now, in 20 minutes, can he go for 30? He's done it now back-to-back games. Absolutely. That's good enough on a 4-game slate for most of the time. But because of Tyus Jones, I mean, he's just got to straight out beat him. And that's really asking a lot. And not only that, if I'm talking about Markelle Fultz, but RJ Hampton straight up going up against Tyus Jones. God, I just find it so impossible that I'm going to get to a lot of him. I mean, he's going to fit into some lineups. It is nice that he has shooting guard eligibility. So that's the nicest thing I can say about RJ Hampton in the absence of baby, I'm Jalen Suggs. I don't know. That was a good one.
What was that?
That was
I know I don't get a lot of your references. That one though, because Jordan's cooler than me, so he usually gets a lot of your references. That one though, Jordan, do you have any clue what the hell he was just doing? Chat, anybody? Before Eric explains
like
himself?
And subscribe. We also have the Awesemo bracket contest, which is going on in the description box below. Sign up at the link of the video. Plus, we have the Awesemo Plus premium betting picks that you could get with the first place there. You get 1 year of Awesemo Plus and premium betting picks. That is great stuff. And then prizes going to top 10 finishers. You just want to go jump in that. That's good stuff. Yes. Oh man, look at this. Chad just blew up. Trick Daddy. You guys are wrong.
Trick Daddy, what Eric used to be called at his former place of employment.
Oh man, that killed the vibe. Dude, I've never seen chat move this fast. This is insane. They did not see this one coming. This is for my peeps, my fam in the chat. Shout out to y'all. You're the real ones.
Oh, well, apparently some of them know what it is you're talking about. I think a lot of people are pretending also. I think there's a lot of them because we've seen this before. Somebody answers something correctly and then everybody else just copies, pastes, and puts it on. But yeah, it does seem like there's more people that know what it is that you're talking about than what I would have assumed. I still have no clue what this is, though.
Dude, chat is going ballistic. I love you guys. You're the best. Smash that like button for me. I finally got through to the people. I didn't know Trick Daddy was going to be where we found common ground, but you know what? Now we found a higher love, y'all. We found a higher love together. We're excited to announce the launch of the premium betting subscription in the Discord. Alex Baker is so good at this. Ben Raza is so good at this. Steve, the Colts Buzzard is very, very, very good at this. All of these guys have an unbelievable amount of experience in this industry, not just on the DFS side, but the betting side too. Let me see those picks. That's the promo you use at promo. Let me see those picks. I don't know what this world's going to bring. $15 will give you full access right now to the premium betting picks subscription. Let me see those picks. And check that out too. Coupon code MADNESS to get $10 off our 2022 NCAA DFS and betting package. That's spearheaded by by Matt Kachevsky.
Mike Lawrence, awesome, yeah.
Yeah. By Matt Kachevsky, my friend Matt Kachevsky, of course. He and I saw eye to eye on Odell the whole time. That is for sure. Then we've also got Ben Raza. These guys are just so sharp when it comes to college sports. Check out their stuff. It is phenomenal stuff. They basically just outright picked Oral Roberts against Ohio State last year. That's when they sold me on how sharp they are. And hey, how sharp is Greg Ehrenberg, Irving, Dragic, Brown, Durant, Drummond, Goran Dragic receiving the start? I think you should play some Goran Dragic. Greg, your reaction to that?
Good for me because I don't have to change anything. And now I think my lineups are going to be good to go because I just updated all the Pacers info with Goga out, and I already had Dragic starting. So I think I'm all set here with 29 minutes to spare.
All right, Goran Dragic. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm just a little bit tragic. You get that one?
Nope. Jordan, did you get that one?
Jordan, you had to get that one. You didn't
all
get
right,
that one?
Let's let chat get to it. Chat's about to blow up.
Memories fade in my mind, and I'm still here. No. Arizona, y'all.
So the thing that's funny about Eric's thing is he starts really confident where he's like, I'm going to get into this. And he does like 4 words and then he just trails off and he fades into the abyss.
It's because I know the onslaught that comes after the fact. But here's the thing. Trick Daddy landed. And as long as Trick Daddy landed, all is right in the world. Things are going in a better direction than what they were. Tragic is tragic. Yeah, there's that. But I'm going to play him. So that's cool. Let's keep it moving to forward, my friend. We got to talk once again. We opened this up to more Memphis Grizzlies because you got Dylan Brooks that you can play at the small forward spot. But now Jaren Jackson Jr. at the power forward spot, 27.5%. Brandon Clark, Kyle Anderson, if you're trying to get way off the wall, but I'm not going to get way off the wall with him today. Zaire Williamson, I'd rather roster a rock. Talk to me about these other forwards from the Memphis side that you might have interest in.
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about a lot of the Memphis guys that are going to be the highest priority for me. I still like Jaren Jackson Jr., but I mean, most of the value comes in the backcourt here because there's no Ja Morant, and we're filling backcourt minutes. And then Dylan Brooks is back as well. So I don't really think outside of Jaren Jackson Jr. there's anybody that stands out as an outstanding forward play from the Memphis Grizzlies. Do you think I'm missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. for me on FanDuel. Desmond Bane, 6,600. I can get him into some lineups, but I think Brandon Clark is intriguing. And this is kind of the guy that I want to talk about because I'm going to be, I think, way over the field on him. Just working through some of these rotations, it seems like there's spots where it's like undersized fives. Brandon Clark gets a little bit longer leash alongside Steven Adams. He's played 23 and 25 minutes. That was against OKC, where you have like an Isaiah Roby, Pokashevsky, Sarr kind of front court. Not really like true bigs that are out there. Against the Knicks, you get Mitchell Robinson. That's a little bit different than just like a true center. Mitchell Robinson, pretty athletic. Not exactly the best cover on planet Earth there for one Steven Adams. And I think now with Goga Bitadze, not another true center out there that I think you'd pretty much just be matching up Steven Adams most of the time with, for whatever minutes Goga would play 12, 16 minutes. I don't know. It'd be something in that ballpark. But with him out of the rotation here, Isaiah Jackson, O'Shea Brissett playing big, like this is a spot where I think Brandon Clark could be very, very sneaky. And he's the best fantasy point per minute producer out of everybody active today. 1.2 on the season. Something just tells me at 4,600 on FanDuel, I really want to be over the field on him. Over on DK, looking at 4,400, he's less of a necessity. You're only rostering 8 players, but I still think being over the field is prudent. Do you have any love for him?
I mean, he's in my player pool, but I don't think the minutes are going to be there. And there's so many good value plays on the slate that it's hard for me to get to him in more than a few lineups. So not an outright fade, but if you're playing a single entry lineup, he's not one of the guys I would consider.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just going to be I'm playing a lot of lineups, and I think being overweight to him in this situation might not be the worst thing. Splitting minutes at the 5 here with Steven Adams. If Steven Adams, there's not really the Goga type player on the other side to be matching up with, but that's just kind of my feel on that one. Wanted to start with him. Now we go to the top end. We've got Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler. If you're going to be paying down at guard, you're going to have an opportunity to pay way up here for one of those guys here at the top end. I'm landing on a lot of Kevin Durant, even at 11-1 on this slate. Don't think it's that hard with the abundance of value from the Memphis side to be able to fit him into lineups. Are you getting to a lot of him, or is Jimmy Butler more of the priority for you?
Yeah, Durant. And the thing that's funny is I tried to nerf my projection for him. Here's what happens, though. I have these cheap guys projected so well on a points per dollar basis that the raw points matter on the high end so much more than anything else that I get to a lot of Durant anyway. If you're playing a lot of Tyus Jones, if you're playing a lot of Dylan Brooks, as you and I are, I kind of think it's unavoidable because you have to spend that money somewhere. And it just lands on Kevin Durant a lot because he's the most expensive play. And I haven't projected for the most fantasy points. And once again, I don't have him projected crazy well. I haven't projected for 52 fantasy points at 11-1 on DK. That still gets him into about half my lineups just because I don't think we need to look at him and be like, oh my God, he's 11-1. We need to get 60 or 65 fantasy points from him. No. I think that if the guards that are good value plays that we like produce well, then it just doesn't matter as long as Durant outscores the other high-end forward options.
Yep, that's perfectly said again. Really, I have nothing to add to anything you're saying today. It's like spot on. We're in sync. I don't.
Did your wife come back with the dog react yet?
She did. Oh, nice. I was able to cover it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was trying to, at the beginning of the show, I was trying to give longer answers so that would potentially get covered up. And I was just kind of thinking, I was like, did we get there yet?
We got there. Yeah. For those who don't know, my wife was getting back from Austin, Texas. She was working out there. And so puppy, I knew it was going to go nuts at some point. Puppy, we covered this. Now I've got this covered. This doggy dad thing. True pro. All it took was, 5 days and a lot of tears. Everybody knows I cry. To the forward spot we go here. More guys to kind of cover that are getting quite a bit of attention. Isaiah Jackson. I mean, Indiana, I don't really know what I want to do between Isaiah Jackson, Buddy Hield, Jalen Smith. I feel like somebody might pop, but trying to figure out who it's going to be here on this slate, they got to compare to all these Memphis guys. I mean, I don't want to play like 4 or 5 Memphis guys in a lineup, so I got to be mixing in some of these guys. Is there anybody from this Indiana front court that interests you?
Yeah, it's going to be Isaiah Jackson. I know you said that any of these guys could pop. I think he's going to be the one, especially now that we have Goga out. And I know the minutes here are a little bit difficult to project on a day-to-day basis for the Indiana Pacers. They have a lot of front court guys they like to go to usually. But now that we've taken Goga out of the mix, I feel a little bit better about projecting Isaiah Jackson for mid-20s minutes. And he's such a good fantasy producer that if you give him mid-20s minutes, you're projecting for over 30 fantasy points. So I look at Isaiah Jackson as the guy to roster from the Pacers now. I thought he was over-owned prior to the Goga news. Now I think he's under-owned.
I think that's a good take. I mean, 5,200. He was the guy that I liked a lot more than Brissett. I expect Brissett to probably still start in this spot. Do we have that starting lineup yet? Did I miss it while I was singing?
No starting lineup yet.
That's cool.
Oh, it's funny. As you said that, the starting lineup came out. Halliburton, Brogdon, Hield, Brissett, Jackson.
Yeah, I expected Brissett to start, but I still love the under of 11.5 points there. I don't see him getting a lot of usage here. I would have loved this a lot more if you got Goga in, but I still think that it stands out as a prop to take advantage of in Odd Shopper. Odd Shopper's identified it. The best place you can find your bets in 30 seconds or less. Simple as that. You want to be checking it out routinely. It helps with your DFS to understand kind of where certain players are being projected throughout all of their statistical categories. Sometimes just being able to rationalize like, oh my God, Luke is projected for 30.5 points. That's his over under, and 9.5 rebounds, 9.5 assists. Stands to reason that he's a phenomenal play. Really gives you context to some of these plays. I love that under of 11.5 for O'Shea Brissett, but what does that starting lineup do for your lineups, Greg?
Not much, because I think this was pretty much what we should have expected.
Yep.
Once Goga was ruled out, we got that question about Terry Taylor before. I said I didn't think he was going to start. I think we're probably going to see something like 12 to 14 minutes from Terry Taylor, which kind of takes him out of consideration. Also, there is way too much free agency and trade news going on. I'm constantly getting alerts that are not relevant to the NBA DFS slate that are pushed to my phone now. I just don't care about these offensive linemen or relief pitchers that are being signed in baseball, but I kind of needed to be there in case anything else happens. That aside, I keep looking at my phone thinking something important happened, and it never is. I think Brissett is worth getting some exposure to, just because we now have him confirmed as starting. But Isaiah Jackson is the guy to go to here.
I like that. I don't really know what else to say. There's something that I was going to say. Oh, Justin Alberto, super chat. Those are good things to talk about. Isaiah Jackson and Kyrie, or Katie and Dragic for DK.
Isaiah Jackson and Kyrie or Katie. That's Katie and Dragic for me.
Yeah, that's the same for me too. Even though I think I'm okay with everybody in that equation. Jackson, my least favorite of them. I think he's a decent enough play. Greg just covered all the ins and outs of that one. So, but Katie and Dragic definitely going to be the priorities for me. Let's keep moving with forward, my friend. Anybody else that's like in this mid-range? Detroit, I updated Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey is really popping now in terms of ownership. He's up to 30.1%. Up next to Wendell Carter, 7,400. You can play him at power forward, both sites. That's useful. Anybody else that kind of in this mid-range that's showing up in more lineups than you expected, that's owned, let's say, between 10 and 25%. Well, and throwing Saddiq Bey in as well.
Oh, I was going to say that is way too much ownership for Saddiq Bey. I have him in just under 10% of my lineups. Here's the issue with him is, sure, we have Cade Cunningham out. We have Isaiah Stewart coming back. That is going to cut into some of the playing time for Saddiq Bey, not in a massive way. And points per dollar, I don't think Saddiq Bey is an awful option. It's just way too much ownership going to him, towards him. When you consider all of the cheap options we have, it is crazy to me that Saddiq Bey is now picking up more ownership on DraftKings than Jaren Jackson Jr. and about comparable over on FanDuel. But I have Triple J projected quite a bit higher than him. So that's one I don't really understand.
Kelly Olynyk's a weird guy to kind of be looking at on this slate. He's a guy who's showing up in more lineups than what I was expecting him to. I don't really know. 3,900. If you're going to see a limited, and again, I don't think his minutes are really that in flux, but he's projecting out irrationally well here at Awesemo right now. 23-minute projection. How many minutes do you project him for tonight?
You were asking me about Kelly Olynyk?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. By the way, you could have stopped and you said Kelly Olynyk's a weird guy to look at. There didn't need to be you could have just ended the sentence there. They didn't need to be more added on to the end of that. Kelly Olynyk, I have him for 18 minutes.
Okay. Though that's going to be drastically different than what Awesemo has in. And as you said, Isaiah Stewart, even if he doesn't play a full allotment of minutes, guess who else is there? Marvin Bagley, Jeremy Grant, Saddiq Bey can play some 4, but he's going to play 3 primarily. I mean, it's just a very congested situation. I don't really want to try to extract a whole heck of a lot from, but Wendell Carter Jr., 7,400. I'm also kind of surprised by that, but we do have money to spend here. I think at forward, I'm just finding paths to play Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler, and it's not terribly hard, but are you getting up to 31.5% of Wendell Carter Jr.?
No, I'm almost positive that's a no. No, I only have him in a handful of lineups. Also, there's just other guys that I like. The other thing also, this is actually the real reason now I'm thinking about it. There is so much value at the guard position. So we have to go back to that. And also I have Isaiah Jackson projected comparably to Wendell Carter Jr. for a cheaper salary. But that aside, there are so many guard plays that we're getting to for cheap that we kind of have to pay up at forward. And it's not that hard to get from Wendell Carter Jr. up to Jimmy Butler and up to Kevin Durant. So those guys are just much higher priority plays for me on the high end for this slate. And then a lot of people are asking about Saddiq Bey. So I'm curious to hear your opinion on it, if you feel any differently than me. But, and this is going to tie into the Kelly Olynyk thing as well. There's a lot of guys to play in the front court now for the Pistons with Isaiah Stewart back in the mix. And I get that even that they don't have Cade Cunningham right now, but they play a really deep rotation. I don't think we're going to see, 40 minutes or anything like that out of Saddiq Bey. That, and also this is a game on the road in Miami with a 13.5 point total right now. A blowout is a possibility as well. I gave Sadiq Bey, 34 minutes, which I think is more than reasonable, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in under that either.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to really contemplate. I mean, I didn't expect Cade Cunningham to play 41 and 44 minutes at any point here coming down the stretch. They don't have anything to play for. You would think if you're going to have your young quote unquote core, if that's what you want to call Sadiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant, I guess part of that core too, if you want to consider it that. Like, you wouldn't think that you'd be overextending some of these guys, but they've never really shied away from throwing Sadiq Bey out there for a lot of minutes. My major concern isn't necessarily that he's not going to play big minutes, but it's that I don't see there being that big of a difference when you have Jeremy Grant back in the mix here as well. Sadiq Bey is just a volatile guy who needs to knock down threes in order to pay off. And it feels like the field is just ignoring that fact.
And then one other thing too, because people are asking about the minutes, he's played 40% of his minutes at power forward this year. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think those minutes are available for him. Like I said, I still project him for 34 minutes, but I think the rate that people are rostering him at, especially in this matchup against Miami, like, I don't think he's a point per minute fantasy producer against on the road against Miami. Is it reasonable to think that?
Yes, agreed. And Miami, not exactly the best matchup to just show up. And again, if this were Charlotte, if this were Houston, I would have a ton of interest in trying to extract something out of Detroit and being way overweight to it. But this is just not the game environment or the spot. And I saw somebody else earlier saying, Corey Joseph went for 40 fantasy points last time against Miami. I do not care about what happened last time in a game. All I know is Miami's track record, their availability to just put the clamps down on any given basketball team, and specifically one that's not good. That's the Detroit Pistons. So I'm probably going to be shying away from 30% of him. It was pretty insane to see that number. 21.7% Jeremy Grant. I have 10% of him. So I'm underweight on that as well. I have 0 Bagley. The guy who was the wild card that kind of popped in our projections there towards the end here was Kelly Olynyk. So I wanted to talk about him. Rest of the forward spot, we got 14 minutes to go, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to jump over to the jock market portion. Let's round out talking about forward before we get to center, though, here. Bruce Brown Jr., I don't think that's going to maintain. He seems a little bit over-owned for me as well. Anybody else that you really have a burning desire to talk about at forward?
No, I mean, we talk about Kelly Olynyk here at the same time as well. I think the Pistons are going to play deep rotation today. I have 10 guys playing for them. Magruder, Livers. So Magruder, Livers, Saban Lee, Kelly Olynyk, Killian Hayes, Marvin Bagley, Corey Joseph, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, and Jeremy Grant. That's 10 guys that I think are going to play over 10 minutes. It's a deep rotation, in my opinion. Maybe somebody gets left out and I'm projecting the minutes wrong, but that's how I'm doing it right now.
No, that's perfect, I think. I'm just updating everything here. I'm going to have my lineups in earlier than I've ever had my lineups in my life. I don't think there's really any news that we're kind of waiting on. If anything unexpected happens, it will happen. We're going to be watching these games, though, live as they tip off and covering Jock Market here. Oh, our friends Jock Market. That's the sponsor of today's show here on the Live Before Lock show. It's fantasy sports turned into the stock exchange, and it is such a fun gameplay type. Greg plays, I play. Our friend Terry McBride, a coworker over here. You've seen him on these shows. You love him. Man, behind all of your lovely emails here at awesemo.com. Just a great dude who loves Jock Market. I love it too. And why? Because you're able to update your projections constantly as things are happening in real time, not just, your projections that you're going to have on before the game starts, but like mentally, you're going to be able to watch the games in real time and adjust, knowing your analysis based on 2 fouls that happen early on in the game, or somebody gets hurt and being able to react to what that value becomes for those players and the affected players on the team. That makes it so interesting to play rather than your traditional DFS sites. Use promo code Awesemo. You get a $50 bonus on your first deposit. You have markets not just for the NBA, but currently PGA as well. So much fun to get in the pregame IPO phase for that as well. And then MLB coming out here soon. Oh, that'll be good times. NHL actively going here as well. The pregame IPO phase, the initial public offering, you're able to get shares of players at a discounted rate. That'll lock here at 11 minutes. I would jump in there now. Try to get some shares. We have free Jock Market projections on the site. You go to the NBA tab, you go to projections, you go to the bottom there, and there are Jock Market projections for you to use. Plus, as if that wasn't good enough, with the $50 bonus on your $50 deposit, there's a first market guarantee. So up to $100 of losses will be refunded in your first market. No questions asked. That makes it as easy as possible to know that you are guaranteeing to get it in good today playing with our friends at Jock Market. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship here of the show. Looking forward to talking about their product here in just 11 short minutes. All right, my friend, to center we go, Greg. And, we haven't had a lot of these slates yet where there isn't a Jokic, there isn't an Embiid, there isn't a ton of Karl Anthony Towns coming off a 60 spot, my dear God. But we've got Andre Drummond here at 5,800 over on the DraftKings slate. Over on FanDuel, he's another intriguing guy to be looking at here. And you do get Steven Adams, who is garnering some more attention than he's got here at the moment. You can play power forwards in the center spots as well. But Andre Drummond, really the first center I want to talk about. What's your interest level in him today against a true center in Mo Bamba?
Yeah, so I think that we could look at what the Nets did last game, which was they only played Claxton and Drummond center minutes. And even if we're being pessimistic and giving Drummond 22 minutes in this matchup, he still looks fairly decent on a points per dollar basis. So I think that he's the best overall center play on the slate. It's hard to be super confident in the minutes, and I think this is the hardest guy in the league to nail down right now because his playing time is all over the place. When he's on the court, he's a really good fantasy producer, but he just isn't very good and gets played off the court very often. But it's a matchup against a team that has Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba in the front court, and I would think the Nets will want to get the extra size out there. So I think this is a really good spot to go to Drummond. Now watch him get into foul trouble 3 minutes into the game and suck, and then, eat an avocado, and that becomes an issue. But
then on Jock Market, you're able to get shares of Nick Claxton, Greg.
Oh, that is true, especially if Ryan tries to dupe you and pretend that Andre Drummond got hurt, so you buy shares.
Forgot about that shit. Now
I thought that was what you were referring to.
No, now I'm mad at him again. That's cool. Keep going.
Yeah, that was pretty much done.
Andre
Drummond's a center I'm getting to a lot today. I think there's potential upside for minutes, and that's something that's pretty appealing for this slate. 5,500 on FanDuel and 58 on DK.
All right, watch Najee tonight, boys. I don't know. Maybe he does start here. He's been starting for Brandon Ingram specifically. I think Devontae Graham goes back to the bench, but that's just me. McCollum's just been playing with the ball in his hand so much for the Pelicans here in the early going, but we shall see what that starting lineup is. Hopefully we get that in the next half hour. We can talk about that here, or in the after half hour. Rest of the center spot, my friend, we've got guys like Steven Adams. We've got guys like Jonas Valanciunas, who's now way overpriced with CJ McCollum back in the mix. DeAndre Ayton, though, is kind of a guy that you've been on here quite a bit, even as Devin Booker has returned. 7,300, though, seems a little bit more expensive on the DraftKings slate, a little bit better on FanDuel. Who else are you landing out to round out center?
Yeah, so Isaiah Jackson has center eligibility. Jaren Jackson Jr. has center eligibility. So both of the Jacksons, I think, are good options. And the other one for me is Bam Adebayo. Those are the four guys the majority of my center exposure is consistent of: Drummond, Jackson, and Adebayo. And I don't really think anybody else is a great option. If you have a few lineups here and there with Brandon Clark or Wendell Carter Jr., I don't mind those kind of guys, but I think there's four pretty strong center plays and then a really big drop off after them.
Uzi, our friend Uzi, $5 super chat. Good to see you. Thoughts on Ayton? In my projections, he is by far the top center, Greg. I said, I do like him a lot more over on FanDuel, 7,600, a little bit different. Only 12.8% owned. I mean, a little bit more of an ownership play. Think there's some upside there still. Who is your favorite guy for FanDuel on center? Because Uzi's is DeAndre Ayton.
It is Andre Drummond for me. And I guess it depends. Technically, it's Jaren Jackson Jr. if we're going to include him in the mix as well, because he has center eligibility. So if we're talking about guys who are eligible positions outside of center, it's Jaren Jackson Jr. If we're just talking about the centers, it's still Drummond.
Tyus Jones. We haven't gotten the Memphis starting lineup yet, right? I'm also
we do not have the Memphis starting lineup. We also have some questions in Discord.
Let's jump on over there. Let's jump on in there. We're heading over to Discord. Again, this is one of the nice little features you get over here at Awesemo, the access to be able to jump in there. I am pulling up the premium basketball section here. Irving and Carter Jr., this is from Swaz. So Irving and Carter Jr. or Booker and JJJ on Yahoo, Greg.
Booker and Triple J.
I would agree with that one. Last guys in on DK. This is from Governot. Bruce Brown, Wendell Carter, or Jaren Jackson, Sadiq Bey, Greg.
So I know I just kind of poo-pooed on Sadiq Bey for a little while there, and I think he's over-owned in tournaments. But amongst these options, Jaren Jackson Jr. is my favorite play of all four by a lot. And I like Bay a lot more than I like Bruce Brown. So I still land on the Sadiq Bay side.
Yeah, what is going on with this Bruce Brown ownership? Like, where are we? What year is it? What's going on?
As Bruce Brown owner, Bruce Brown chalk, that's never failed, right?
Never once, never where he just fell out of a rotation the second game of a season or anything.
First game, that was the first game of the season.
Oh, it was the first game? Oh, I thought it was
Patty
the
Mills
second.
night. Patty Mills night.
And you know what? It has not been Patty Mills night since.
It was that
I
one.
had 0% Patty Mills. I thought he was a terrible play at that ownership.
No, there was one Patty Mills night, the day when Seth Curry was really popular and nobody played Patty Mills, and then Patty Mills scored like 28 points. Because I like Patty Mills that day. There was the one other Patty Mills day. There's not that many.
You did call that pivot on Live Before Lock. If anybody wants to know if my buddy Greg knows anything about anything, he definitely does. He called that one flat out.
Because I said Patty Mills would be a good one 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, well,
put it on my resume.
Yeah. I got Trey Murphy III. Don't at me, Rinpack. Trey Murphy III is mine. Jeremiah Dragic, $100 less than Tyus on FanDuel and 32% less owned. Might be an okay pivot if you want to get a little contrarian. How about you play a lot of both?
Which question was that?
Dragic off of, so Jeremiah, he was talking about on FanDuel. I mean, Dragic is going to get up there. I think maybe that's changed a little bit in the last 20 minutes since he asked the question, but they're going to be, I mean, Tyus Jones is just substantially the better play between the two still for me.
Yeah, it's Tyus Jones. Any question unless you're asking me who's going to score more fantasy points, Tyus Jones or CJ McCollum, the answer is going to be Tyus Jones. Yeah, this one's too easy here. Guys, we are ready to rock. Yes, 4 minutes to go here. Get your lineups in. Yeah, with the Josh Hart call. Yeah, he's gone nuts the last two. Life was good. Let's see. What else do we got here? How nice is it to not sweat an upload? It feels nice, DM Brian 007. It feels nice. There's a first for everything. And this is the first time I could just hands away from the computer. Now watch the Grizzlies put out a batshit crazy starting lineup in 2 minutes.
It would be not fun, Greg. Like D'Anthony Melton alongside like Brandon Clark playing the four. That would be the ultimate like great thing that happened to my lineups if that happened. But like I doubt it would be. Trey Murphy call of the day.
The game starts in 3 minutes. We do not have a starting lineup for them. I'll say my assumption is that it's Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. Do you have any different opinion on that?
No, but now I'm in a frenzy. Now you just put my head in a tailspin. I guess I've just been assuming this starting lineup the entire time. Like,
yeah, no, we have no.
If Tyus Jones is not starting, I will. Okay, at least have like the global swap button ready or something. I don't think you're able to update everything in the next minute of doing it. I don't think I could get a crunch in and do everything that I need to filter it and be set to go. I'd probably just global swap. Yeah, like RJ Hampton. RJ Hampton would be fun.
I'm scrolling Twitter right now just to see if I could find anything, but there's just no news.
No news is usually bad news, but whatever.
Yeah, no,
this got awkward.
It didn't get awkward. I'm just trying to find news because the slate starts in 2 minutes.
Well, we don't even have the
starting lineup.
We got the Magic starting lineup. So Mr. D Go Blue, we got the Magic starting lineup at like noon today. It was forever ago.
Yeah, Magic starting lineup is Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Bamba.
Did that come out like 4 hours ago? I think it was pretty madness.
It came out earlier than the Memphis starting lineup did. I don't know the exact time, but I know that for sure.
Thank you so much for that heavy hitting analysis from G Ehrenberg DFS. Go give him a follow over there. While you're at it, go follow me at Eric Lindquist. The Trey Murphy call of the day. I don't have one. Every once in a while, I pull out the crystal ball and I tell you the future. I don't really have a great grasp of like who the super low owned dart would be in this spot. There's a number of guys I've taken shots on. I'm a little bit over on Markelle Fultz at 6.8% now. I kind of was talking through that and got to around 11% of him, but nothing substantial. I hope it's not Corey Joseph. I'll kick the crap out of myself because I'm not really there on it. Killian Hayes is way overowned. This is just insane looking at some of these guys. I mean, I have like 2% of Killian Hayes. He's at 11.8%. I know it's a 4-game slate and you have to find points of deviation, but like, no thank you on that. That's it.
Are we gonna? This is, it's gonna be really exciting. So I could put the Grizzlies game on my second screen now, and we'll find out who's starting for them when the game starts and they're on the court. That's how we're gonna find out.
Jock market. Heading over there, we're gonna have an opportunity to talk about them and how to make some money with whatever that ends up being. Oh man, I'm weirdly nervous now. I didn't even think about that. It's just kind of been an assumption in my mind that we were going to see Tyus Jones alongside Desmond Bane, alongside Dylan Brooks, alongside Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams. And if it doesn't come out as those five, might have a breakdown on stream. That'll be cool.
Oh, so even more reason for you guys to stick around, other than us talking about Jock Market and maybe trying to find some prop picks we like. I am very curious to see what the deal is. Watch the late scratch somebody.
If Clark is the one who starts, though, I'm going to benefit. So that would be great. Heat starting lineup. First one we get. Lowry, Robinson, Butler, Tucker out of bio. Exactly what you expected. That's hilarious. As I'm just like scouring, waiting for it. Get Heat.
Oh, so somebody said that there is a green check mark. Where's the green check marks at? I don't know how we didn't think to look for a green check mark. I can't believe it. This is mea culpa. I can't believe we went through this entire thing and I didn't look for a green check mark. Who do they give green check marks to? All right, I'm pulling up the DK app. They have no green check marks. No green check marks for the. They don't even know.
Yeah, well, we're at lock, so joy. Everybody, smash the like button, subscribe button, notification bell. 2.4K of you guys still hanging out here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking some Jock Market, but we will be tilting live, let me tell you. And maybe, I don't know, or Trick Daddy. Oh my God. It's exactly what we said. Jones, Bane, Brooks, Jackson Jr., Adams. Good.
All right. I'm kind of conflicted here. Because on one hand, I'm happy we got it right. But on the second hand, I feel like we missed out on an opportunity for all of us to panic, which is also fun.
Yeah, it's a group panic button. That's always fun. Let's see. 81% Jones. Yeah, you're going to see stuff like that. At least Jones is starting, because that would have been the guy. If you were to say who's most likely not to start, I would have said it would have been him, and they would just play like Brooks or Bane would be the ball handler. But like, God, that would be apocalyptic. Guys, Jock Market.
I would have, if I had to guess who was least likely to start, I would have said, Brooks.
Interesting. I would have said Tyus Jones just because.
Oh, no, never mind. Because Brooks started his first game back. So there isn't even somebody I would have guessed. This is just the starting lineup I would have said.
This was always, I didn't even think about it. It was just an assumption in my brain that this was the starting lineup the entire time throughout, until Greg is like, hey, Eric, we don't have it official yet. Green check mark. Yeah, you guys are absolutely the best. No tier. So text hashtag no tears tonight.
At some point there will be.
We can only hope. Hope, everybody. All right, I'm turning this off behind me. Thank you so much, Jock Market. But I have to be using my phone here. Everybody, use promo code Awesemo if you haven't played over there. If you haven't enjoyed this lovely product over, you get $50 back into your account on a $50 deposit. We have free projections, and you get $100 first market guarantee. So if you lose up to $100, you get it refunded. That makes it super, super easy to know that you're getting it in good. And that's always a good feeling. Looking at the daily market here, Greg, right off the bat, first impressions, anybody that catches your eye right from the get-go.
Pulling up the app, refreshing it. Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is overwhelmingly likely to be the top scoring fantasy player on this slate. And as referenced, here are our projections, which are specific for Jock Market. A little bit different than FanDuel, a little bit different than DraftKings, because they do take points away from players for missing shots. We have Kevin Durant projected for 50.26 Jock Market fantasy points. Second is CJ McCollum at 44.41. So we have the fair IPO price for Durant set at 18.70. The asking price from right now is 17.61. I think that there's some value in that, and there's a lot of floor as well. I just don't think it's likely that Durant is, outside of the top 5 scorers on the slate. And you get back at least $15 per share as long as he's top 5. The only way you're really getting crushed on this is if you get to a point where like he's the 7th or 8th highest scoring player, which I just don't think that's, unless this game's a blowout or Durant gets hurt or there's foul trouble. I think he's going to be one of the top scoring players on the slate. Durant's the one that stands out immediately.
All right. Well, I'm getting some shares of him. So good call by you. Let me get 2 shares of him here while we're at it, as I'm just talking through it. Simple as that. Pull up the app, join the market. 1761 is the ask. That's still too low. I like that number. I'm going to get 2 shares right from the get-go. Bang. We're all set. Cren Bautista, $5. Green check on FanDuel is 99.9% right.
But that 0.1% happens 50% of the time. So it's you were playing with the margins.
Yeah. It's negative B plus minus square root of B squared minus 4AC over 2A. There's that.
With that said, green checkmark jokes land on the show 100% of the time. So it has its uses.
Yeah. I hate this show. I love Jock Market. I do love Jock Market. I just hate you and the show and everything.
I love Lamp.
I love Lamp. I love Lamp. I love Lamp. Anybody else down here as we're moving through? CJ McCollum, 1411. He's got, I'm going to have to buy shares of CJ McCollum too. $15.40 fair IPO price. These top priced guys are just too low. And I've noticed this on Jock Market lately. Been playing over there a little bit more. It's a lot of fun. I'm telling you, when you're just sitting there watching games live, being able to react to them, it's super easy to go on, just buy some shares of players. But everybody wants to go down to the bottom and buy shares of guys that are $2, $3, $4. And then they want them to pay off with a $20 return, or they're just taking deep darts. These top price guys are generally going a little bit under-owned. And yeah, sometimes they're not going to give you the $25 payout. But as you said earlier, Kevin Durant finishes in the top 5. You have a built-in floor there, and your ceiling is basically, more than 30-40% of the time. You're getting a massive return in this spot. I mean, Kevin Durant projected more than 6 fantasy points or 5 fantasy points more than CJ McCollum. But even still, I like CJ McCollum at this number. Do you?
Yeah, for sure. And to piggyback on what you said before, I think there's been 2 main ways as of late that we've seen some value in Jock Market. Number one, the top end guys not getting bid up high enough prices in some of their IPOs, especially in the secondary market. And the other thing too is when we get late news and players either get scratched or there's a starting lineup change, that's something else that delivers a lot of value post lock. But I do find a lot of the guys in the mid range are kind of hard to find value on. We'll start to look at guys, like Desmond Bane, Tyler Hero, Jeremy Grant. A lot of these types of guys that are mid range plays on DraftKings and FanDuel, I find a lot of them to be overbid on Jock Market.
Teddy Wayman, $5 off topic. Have y'all ever seen Letter Kenny? If not, you should. Cheers and good luck. I've never. I don't know what that is.
What is the, have you ever seen? Yes. Okay. So I haven't seen it a lot, but my brother watches it, and I watched part of an episode with him once, and I was totally confused. I was like, what the hell is going on? It's very abstract. This is only, and who knows, this could have been a weird episode I watched, but my take on it was like, this is very abstract and meta comedy. And it was just very bizarre and weird. And a lot of things were happening. I didn't understand any of it.
I'm just glad Letter Kenny is a thing and it's not going to get me in trouble, because I just said it off the cuff and such like a Letter Kenny. And then you pull it up and it's Russian and it's like something awful and whatever else. Teddy Wayman wouldn't do me like that. So I appreciate you, Teddy. Letter Kenny. Very nice for it to just be a polite, lovely thing. Canadian sitcom. I will check it out. Take a look. The acting is horrendous from Andrew Tagg. Snowball.
So ears, and also this is the other thing that I took away from the very brief amount that I watched it, is this seems very hit or miss with no in between for a lot of people. I think if you watch the show, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Like, I don't think it's possible to be lukewarm on it.
Interesting. Kind of like my Trick Daddy impression. Everybody loved that though. Again, I can't believe that that's the thing that smashed. Of all the things that I've done on this show, that's the one that smashes. Well, I can, because
I don't know.
Baby,
I don't know they liked it. I think they were able to recognize what you were singing. I don't think the audience is like, oh yeah, give me more of Eric singing.
One thing, that this is a life for me, baby, because I'm Jalen Suggs. That's what I was getting at.
Is that part of the song?
That's literally the song.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's just hot fire. North Carolina, come on.
All right, there we go. We've got Guy Will Gamble. No, we definitely liked it. Marshall White, God, please stop. But then we've got Rob A, give me more Eric singing. Marshall White, I don't want to kill myself today. Trick, love the kids. Greg SJ, exclamation point, Jock Market. We had to come. Carlos Manzo, we had to come to. It's all over the place there. And Carlos asked me, how do I not know that song? I don't know anything. I know sports.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Yeah, Andrew Tag is saying Greg should sing. How? I don't know what it is he's singing.
It's Petey Pablo. I know it's Petey Pablo, but I was just trying to find another. Like, that's like the early 2000s rap. TRL was still popping, as the kids would say. No, literally, no. I just changed it. It's Baby because I'm a thug. But I'm saying I changed it.
Oh,
Baby,
see, that was what I asked you. I
Suggs.
said, I said, does he actually say Jalen Suggs?
You know how I always try to like incorporate at the tail end as I'm transitioning to Greg. I always try to like throw in a pop culture reference here and there just to like, make it more interesting than just over to you, Greg. Give us the news. Is there rain in the forecast?
I just assumed that Jalen Suggs was in the song.
No, he's not.
There's
Does
a
Eric
Mobamba
Lindquist
song.
do any What We Do in the Shadows impressions? I sure do. So nice of you to ask, Neil Orfield. I will. I can do it.
All right, what are we doing next? What are we doing
Guillermo, close the coffin for me.
All right, my dad. By the way, my dad just texted me. He's very excited. The Giants signed Tyrod Taylor. What a sad state it is to be a Giant fan. Like, my dad is the most diehard Giants fan. He's like, oh, nice, they got Tyrod Taylor. Like, great, Dad.
Well, okay, pause. Corey Joseph, Rodney Magruder is starting for the Detroit Pistons alongside Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Stewart. We are back into Eric activated mode. We are ready to go here. Magruder starting. I'm going to just say I did not anticipate that today.
No, but I also think this is now somebody else we have to consider is going to play significant minutes for the Pistons. And while before I had said that he's somebody, I said I thought they were going to play a 10-minute rotation. A lot of guys were going to get minutes. That doesn't mean I expected Rodney Magruder to be a guy who's potentially going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah, and he's 3K. So that's where it's like at pulling up Jock Market. I would be surprised if he was even. Oh, he is in there. He's 358 for an ask. Where am I right now?
Yeah, that's pretty. So for 350, how many points do you need him to score? You need him to be. This is still fairly low, but you need him to be a top 50 scorer on the slate for that to return value. I still don't think that's super likely. It's possible. I'd rather play him at 3K on DK.
Yeah, that's the spot that I'm going to be getting to him. That's for sure.
Not a significant amount, but he'll.
No,
you know what actually is
going
to make it really hard? The Memphis Brooklyn game is already locked. That's taking up a lot of my roster spots. I don't think I'm going to really be able to get to him. I didn't like what cheap guys were really playing from Detroit, Miami, or Phoenix, New Orleans.
It's a good point.
Let's see. I'll try.
I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
I'll just give him.
I just put him in for, let's see what we got, 21 minutes, and he comes up with like 17 fantasy points.
Wait, you're giving him 17? There's no way that I would screw Rodney Magruder. Fucking sucks. I have to give him like 30. I have to give him like 30 minutes to make him viable.
Wow, children, earmuffs, kids. Greg, getting just a little. Magruder is straight trash. Can juice what? That's green check mark back. You have to. Oh man, Shree fitting. 3K. Sad. I mean, he's not a good fantasy point per minute producer. 0.71. I just was moving the little slide in my column. 21. I just wanted to see where it was at. I mean, if you put him in for 24 minutes, he's playable. If you put him for 21, he's not.
So, I mean, just for the year, he is playing. If I give him 28 minutes, he still comes out with less than 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's not very good.
He's playing.
It was just a name I didn't expect, and whenever you get that, it's like, all right, immediately jump in, go to the lab, and I'm not going to get to him. I don't think.
For the year, he's playing 13.6 minutes per game, averaging 9.6 fantasy points. So let's just say that he plays double the minutes and then you give him double the production as well, which isn't the most scientific way to do this, but just kind of using it as a point of reference.
Yeah, somebody buy some soap and ship it to Greg so he can wash his mouth out. That's for sure.
So offended. I said a bad word. Deal with it. Rodney Magruder, if you just double his rates, you get him to 27 minutes and 19 fantasy points. And that's assuming a neutral matchup and also assuming that he would maintain the same usage as a starter that he does as a bench player. I don't think there's a lot of upside here. The only thing that's appealing about him is that nobody's going to roster him. So I'll just give him, let's see, I'm just going to blindly go like, all right, 20 fantasy points and just rerun my lineups and see if he shows up at all. Just
the most appealing thing about him is that
his name is fun to say.
Oh, that too. That's good. Yeah, they're both good things. Like Petey Pablo. That's fun to say. It's an enjoyable feeling to say that out loud.
All right, so I'm rerunning my lineups right now in Fantasy Cruncher.
90% Dylan Brooks on DK. He is off to a terrible start here on the jockmarket.com. 0 fantasy points. Not ideal.
So I gave Rodney Magruder 20 fantasy points, which I don't think is a good projection for him, and he still did not show up in my lineups. I'm not going to play him.
Yeah, I'm not going to play him either. Shea Brissett. Start fouling people. Oh, did he just get in a second foul? Please.
Ryan just texted us that Saban Lee is inactive. Yeah, Saban Lee is inactive. That does change the rotation.
Oh no. I didn't want to talk about Detroit for 14 minutes here after the show. Are you kidding me? All right. Well, here we go.
You know what I think happens with is Garza active or is he still in the G League?
Oh no, but Corey Joseph just got interesting again. I mean, who else is playing point guard for this basketball team besides him and Killian Hayes? And they've just, I don't know. It's so weird. Killian Hayes did play 31 minutes. That'd be weird. Shoot first guard out there handling. Yeah, it'd be fun. Saban Lee inactive. All right. Derek Walton's not there, right?
No,
he's been out forever. Is he even alive? Is he? I hope he is. I hope he's doing well.
Oh my God, this would be a disappointing way to find out he's dead, isn't it? I'll just Google it. Derek Walton dead. What comes up?
Desmond Bane, 7 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal. Welcome to the Desmond Bane show.
Derek Walton Jr. Oh, well, I found out that Linda Walton is dead when I Googled Derek Walton dead.
It's not ideal.
Ryan Walton arrested.
It's not great either.
What's going on with Derek Walton? He's just in the G League.
That's what I thought. Okay. Just making sure. Because, I mean, if he's in the building, that makes it irrelevant, but he's not. That's cool. All right. Back to Jock Market here as well. I mean, again, Corey Joseph and Killian Hayes. I mean, Killian Hayes played a lot of minutes the other night. I don't know if that's going to be the norm. 31, kind of an interesting spot where I don't really know what to think about that. I've got him in for a lot less than that. 26 minutes. I mean, I'm going to give him a boost to like 29, 28 minutes. Give a couple more to Corey Joseph as well. Because I don't expect Magruder to be a guy who just, they have so many other random dudes that just exist on this team that don't do anything and that aren't cheap. Magruder's the only cheap one.
The entire team is no good though, outside of Cade Cunningham.
It's problematic. Yeah, it's problematic.
But most of these pieces are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah, Joseph, I agree. Gridiron Beauties, Joseph is the better option between. Do you have a preference? If you had to play one right now as you're updating everything, would you play Corey Joseph or Killian Hayes?
Joseph. By the way, you know who's going to kill this? Somebody just said that Brooks has 2 fouls.
Let's see. News God just said it.
Let's see. Let me put the game.
I think he has 1, but then he got a technical. So, I mean, it's just 1 foul still.
Yeah, I haven't put the games on yet because we were trying to figure out some of the news that was going on there. Here we go. Games.
He's got 1 foul. Foul. No, I was just kidding. Foul. John Calipari's in attendance
at the Memphis game.
John Calipari.
For which player did he coach from there?
It's a great point.
Loading.
Kentucky. Who played for Kentucky there? Nobody. Not a single person.
Are you looking at Indiana or Memphis?
From either of them. Terry Taylor on the floor now for O'Shea Brissett. 2 quick fouls. That's not great. Sorry ahead of time to whoever that was that wanted Terry Taylor, who's now going to play a lot more minutes than we thought.
Possibly. Let's see. I mean, if Dylan Brooks is going to shit the bed, then none of this matters. Although he just missed a layup, and then
is that good?
Jaren Jackson Jr. got the rebound quickly. Well, this is a mess. Whatever the hell is going on this possession. All right, Jaren fouled by somebody.
A little bit of that.
The ball was getting thrown away. Jaren Jackson Jr. Dylan Brooks missed a layup. Jaren Jackson Jr. got an offensive rebound.
Hold on. I'm getting a share of Terry Taylor just to track it. 306 for him. I'm going to track it. 306. I'm going to get 1 share. Just if O'Shea Brissett picks up 2 quick ones. I mean, if Terry Taylor goes out and smashes, he can smash quick. That would be a thing he can do. I mean, Jalen Smith is there checking in now for our good friend Isaiah Jackson, who had a good first rotation. I'm not disappointed by that at all. 7.4, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and a block to start off. Decent enough in 5 minutes. Kyrie Irving going nuts. The
one that's definitely not the guy, Dylan Brooks. Is Dylan Brooks going to end us tonight, Eric?
Yeah, probably. Dylan Brooks sucks. Even though quack. He's a dunk.
All right. Triple J with a steal.
Jaren Jackson, bang.
Very nice
Tyus
transition
Jones,
basket.
that was nice.
A lot of points
nice.
There we go. I could use some Jaren Jackson Jr. today.
See, this is what we're here for on Chalk Market, is being able to kind of adjust to some of this. By the way, Steven Adams, 6 points, 3 rebounds. I hate this guy. I don't understand it. It is not comprehending. I don't like it whatsoever. Triple J has 4 boards already. His over-under on rebounds was like 5.5 on Prize Picks.
Who's the player you get wrong most often in DFS?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh,
NBA.
I mean, it's got to be somebody who's like routinely popular, because you can't talk about a guy who's like 10K. And I mean, I would say Steph Curry, because I barely roster him, and we know the upside he has. He had 68 last night, but I had like 38% Trae Young, so that didn't matter. Just outperformed him raw. Who's the guy I get wrong the most? I would say this is such a good question. I'm like my brain is going.
While you're thinking about it, we got a super chat from Ryan Nelson 02, who likes to jump in, leave us some super chats during our post-lock show. So for Ryan Nelson 02, Magruder keeping K-State competitive in the 2011-2012 Big 12 was impressive. Mizzou 2 seed, Kansas national title, Baylor Elite 8, and feisty ISU.
Feisty. We're a feisty basketball team there in Ames, Iowa. Hilton Magic. Call it magic.
What do you have an answer?
I'm still thinking about it. I mean, it's got to be somebody who's like routinely popular that I'm either on the wrong side of one
Let's see if we
get
answers. I'll throw it on Twitter.
That's a great question. I mean, it makes my head hurt. Middleton is a great answer. Middleton is a guy that makes you want to bang your head against a wall sometimes when there's no Giannis. But like, there's so many times where he's a low-owned tournament play when you do have Giannis there, because he's got elevated tags. And I don't know, it's not a guy you land on a lot. And when you do, get to like 8-10% of him and he smashes, you're probably benefiting. So it's weird. Yeah, it has to be somebody who's like routinely chalky or went chalky for a season, because like it's such a day-to-day thing. Anthony Edwards is a great answer too, but I thought about him, but like I feel like I've been on the right side of a lot of Anthony Edwards games. He was in a lineup I won 20K with earlier this year, so I can't say him.
Yeah, that counts. That kind of. I think no matter what happens, that produces enough positive ROI for you to be able to do it. By the way, I just tweeted it out, so I'll see. I'll see what people end up answering. Oh, this is a good answer. Here's the one for you, Paul George.
I don't like whoever the fuck. Why would they say that? Why would you say that?
Because it's the right answer. It's Paul George.
Love rostering him at 0%. That was great. Nurkic is a great answer. That was a guy earlier this season. I will say the guy that I get wrong the most this season in DFS is LaMelo Ball.
For me this season, I think it's Steven Adams.
Yeah, but I've never played him, so that's.
he's also been because Steven Adams is another guy too, who it's like, oh, look, Steven Adams, he plays 20 minutes and scores 15 fantasy points a bunch of games in a row. And then all of a sudden, randomly, we get these slate breaking games from Steven Adams, but he always has some ownership. I think that's been the one for me this year.
Kyrie, 14 points, 2 assists, 2 steals. What's his price on Jock Market? Because this is just getting silly. It's getting silly. Plus, this game is just shooting out like crazy. Like Brooklyn 30, Orlando 25. Yeah, 4:37 left in the first.
This is a very high pace game.
Kyrie's going for $20 on Jock Market. That's too much. Wendell Carter, 1582. Not in your dreams am I paying that. Bruce Brown, 765. I wish I could short him in this spot. That would be fun. Jalen Smith just knocked down a 3 in the other game. This is really fun watching these live, kind of figuring them out. A lot of people saying Tatum and Brown. I think that's great. We're going to be wrong more than we're right, Rinpack! Exclamation. It's all about being less wrong against the field. That's not what Twitter's taught me, my friend. Twitter has taught me get it right all the time. Like even when I had Trey Murphy III, the very first comment that said underneath it was, but didn't you like Şengün? I was like, yeah, like that's not the point. Is that I basically called the dude who's like getting projected for 12 minutes to be a guy that I was going to play like 20%, 25% of. What is that Jordan Klein's doing? Jordan Klein, put yourself on camera. What are you doing?
What is he? I'm reading. I'm reading some of my Twitter responses. LaMelo, Sabonis.
He's counting
Tatum.
hundreds. He's counting hundreds on his desk. Like what's happening over here? Why are you so rich all of a sudden?
Let's see. What does Jordan Klein have going on?
Vanderbilt always screws
Jordan,
me.
what are you
That's
doing?
A good answer.
Show some bands.
Oh, that's fine. It'd be funny if he had like an actual sign of like the Beatles. Oh, Graham is starting. Devontae Graham, McCollum, Jones, Hayes, Valanciunas, Najee Marshall to the bench. There you go. Didn't matter. I wasn't going to play anybody from the Pelicans that inflated tags with CJ McCollum back. Just couldn't do it. Valanciunas would have been the only guy.
Everybody in this Nets Magic game is off to a really good start. We've got, so we're 8 minutes into the game, other than Dragic. But other than that, Kyrie is 14 points, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Drummond, 9 points and a rebound. Bruce Brown, 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. Durant has 8 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Not as much action on the Magic side, but we do have Wendell Carter Jr. with 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists.
Why is Bruce Brown playing well alongside Durant and Irving all of a sudden? This is really annoying to me.
I don't even if Dylan Brooks can score 0 fantasy points today, it's probably not going to matter to me anyway.
Yeah, that's probably true when you have 90% of a guy and they're not playing well. Steven Adams just smashing faces. That's not ideal. Zaire Williams for 3. Sorry to besmirch his good name. 3 assists and a rebound for Tyus Jones, the chalk king of the people. Desmond Bain just checked out of the game, I believe. Brandon Clark in at the 4-minute mark. What's Brandon Clark on Jock Market here too? So 655, that's way too much.
The most popular answer, I'm actually surprised that people didn't answer Jaren Jackson Jr. because that's somebody who's gotten into foul trouble so often as a chalk play. Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards both seem to be pretty popular answers that I've seen on Twitter.
Well, I mean, a guy just scored 60 points at sub 10%. I'm assuming there's a lot of slates he's been much more popular than that. So that's probably hurtful to a lot of people. I can't believe how good my Timberwolves are playing. It's beautiful stuff, buddy. Healed off to a decent start. 8 points, 3 rebounds here for him as well. I got to say, when there's 2 games that lock at 7 p.m. Eastern time, it's a lot more fun. Like, this is really fun.
Also, another answer that's been pretty common is Steph Curry, which you mentioned before. Curry's another weird. Any of those guys that are really, really high variance are going to be tough to predict because Steph Curry is a guy who he'll play 6 games over the course of 2 weeks. He'll score 40 fantasy points in 5 of them and suck for fantasy. And the other one will score 70 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of how his production goes.
Well, how many people have that kind of range of outcomes? He has like from 30 to 75 for a range of outcomes on a given game where he's healthy. That's just absurd. Whereas like most players that see, 30 minutes of court time are going to be projected between, like their absolute floor being like 10 to like 35. So it's like, not even the realm of the same thing here. Halliburton has 6 assists already. That seems good.
Congrats to anybody that have Brogdon and Brooks lineups together.
Probably not.
No, I said congrats.
Oh yeah, on what? 0 things happening in their lives.
They've combined for 0. They combined for 0 fantasy points in the first quarter.
Woohoo! Yay! Yeah. You're watching the slate end like in real time. I mean, this is the shortest slate of all time as it is. We're at 429 here. I'm looking at Jock Market. I'm telling you though, I still love Kevin Durant, 1805. I still think there's value going there. I still think I think we did good work isolating those top guys. There's only 4 games to talk about here. I didn't see a ton of value there at the bottom end. If you tried to, get some Jalen Smith early, I think that might have been sharp. But I'm not really going to be dancing too much with those guys in that front court. Guys, that is the Jock Market portion of the show. So much fun today. Don't forget, use promo code Awesemo. Get that 100% deposit match bonus up to $50 with them, plus $100 first market guarantee. So fun to play over there. Greg and I are over there all the time. Terry McBride in there in the chat. So much fun. Somebody said F you, Greg. No, F you, Choke Hold'em. But Greg, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, just the commercial for Morbius came on. Did you know that
Marvel?
Did you know that Jared Leto's in his 50s?
He's very good shape for his 50s.
It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous to me that he's in his 50s. That's really my final thoughts.
Jordan Klein, was that hot mic at least? Just
Jared Leto is an awful actor.
And that's all the time we have for today. That was the NBA Live Before Lock show. Thank you so much to Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass, chirping in at every given moment he possibly could. Greg, any final words for the people?
How many times do I have to give final words? I did it 3 times. I have to do final
I don't know.
words?
Jared Leto was never sponsoring the show, but Jock Market is. Thank you so much again to them. I'm Eric Lindquist. Go follow me on Twitter at Eric Lindquist. Go follow him at Ehrenberg DFS on Twitter. We'll see you later.